Hey girl, if nobody else has told you today, I want you to know you are smart, beautiful, and you are worthy. Sometimes brands will send me stuff, or I've done partnerships where brands have sent me clothes, but my regular clothes are in my bedroom. Ignore the pile of, but I looked online and it looks like there is a similar one, if not the exact same one, at Pottery Barn on their website. So I can't guarantee Harry Potter store in New York. That's where I got this Ravenclaw robe. So I have robes and they put my name on it. I bought this cute. Okay, y'all, I just got home from work and the package I've been looking forward to is here. I don't normally do try-ons, but I know these are gonna be to just being outright racist. I've been told I was articulate, which sounds like a compliment, but frequently Black people hear this and what it sounds like to us is you did.
Fire for your mind. The kosher clinician.
Call it off, let it go, all for nothing. I should have known. I've made mistakes, crashed and burned, so many chances, no time to learn. I need to find another way to make things right. I won't be coming back again a second time. Can't take it back, everything you've done. You know youth is wasted on the young. We still don't know where we belong. Time will tell us where we went wrong. You know youth is wasted on the young. On the young. Setting off, time to go, engines running, we're on our own, running on an endless road, reaching for something we used to know. If I had another chance, I'd make things right. I see the light behind your eyes is fading now. Can't take it back, everything you've done. You know youth is wasted on the young. We still don't where we belong. Time will tell us where we went wrong. You know youth is wasted on the young. On the young. On the young. Everything you've done, you know youth is wasted on the young. Still don't know where we belong. Time will I've been pushing away everybody I love. I don't know what to do, need a sign from above. I just want to be somebody who knows how to behave, but I'm not even close. Won't you save, 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 save me? Won't you save, 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 save me? I am out here alone, 'cause there's nobody left. I need someone to talk to, get this pain on my chest. All the bad things I've done, and the people I've hurt. Wanna take that part of me and leave it in the dirt. Won't you save, 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 save me? Won't you save, 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 save me? Won't you save, 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 save me? Oh, save me, save, save me. Oh, I've been trapped in this darkness for far too long now. Wanna tear down the curtains, let the sun shine in. Oh, I've been seeking forgiveness, 'cause I know I was wrong. Oh, I'm running out of time, I have to stay strong.
When I saw you, I would lose control. Made me feel like there was no tomorrow. Should've told you that you're beautiful, but the days pass and now it's so long ago. Did you make it? Did you break free? Did you manage to be who you wanna be? Maybe somewhere you think about me too. I wonder where are you now? Wonder where are you now? Wonder where are you now? Would you know my name? Would you know it? Did you feel the same? Wonder where are you now? Wonder where are you now? It's too late now, 'cause I'm growing old, but I need you to deal with my sorrow. Just a memory, just a broken frame, and I know that I have no one else to blame. Did you make it? Did you break free? Did you manage to be who you wanna be? Maybe somewhere you think about me too. I wonder where are you now? Wonder where are you now?
My dear friend Guapo came up with a concept called beautiful lies. And beautiful lies is something that more or less tied to the beautiful lies or the things that we tell ourselves. But just like a Guapo syndicated show, Beautiful Lies, there's a parallel that goes with beautiful lies. Beautiful lies many times are a byproduct of the dark side of beauty. And when we fail to see the importance of the dark side of beauty, we become saboteurs of our own ignorance. In that saboteuring of our own ignorance, illusions become delusions, like the black swan. The black swan is an example and an icon of something that's beautiful, but often the black swan often is synonymous to something dark that's coming on the horizon. A horizon that is often a harbinger of something that was never predicted. When you think about the young lady by the name of Cheslie Kryst, Cheslie Kryst was more or less a byproduct of that harbinger. Many looked at this young woman as someone that was beaming with love, joy, pride, anticipation, and hope. But behind that smile was a darkness that more or less could be tied to mental illness, undiagnosed depression, dealing with the power of fame, and dealing with a myriad of different issues that more or less went undiagnosed or more or less permeated inside of her thoughts and her consciousness. We live in a time now where suicide is on an on-time rise. And there was a time when in the black community that suicide was not something that was normal. But now with many communities become isolated and many communities not being together, and we're more or less getting caught up in the metaverse and many other idioms, we can become victims of the things that we think that are beautiful, but in actuality, they are beautiful lies. I want you guys to enjoy this show as we talk about the importance of mental health, depression, and the lies that we tell ourselves about the things that we think are important. The great teacher by the name of Job said that a man that's born of a woman is but a few days and full of trouble. Could Cheslie Kryst's life have been spared if she had not more or less been a victim of the black swan? Being a victim of what's called the dark side of beauty that actually turned to beautiful lies? Sit back, relax, and enjoy this show as I bring it to you live from the greatest state in the union, the Tar Heel State. And I need you guys to remember this, as this topic will more or less talk about spirituality. If it ain't seven, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, it ain't right. Are you dealing with mental health pathologies going undiagnosed based on the dark side of beauty that had in actuality turned to the beautiful lies? Be well. All right, guys, we're about to get started. We're going to chop up some comprehensive game on tonight as we're talking about the dark side of beauty. Many times the dark side of beauty is a byproduct of beautiful lies. And those beautiful lies are the things that we tell ourselves to more or less satiate our ego. It's a way for us to more or less make us feel good about the things that we're dealing with. We're going to talk about the importance and the impact of mental wellness and mental illness. But more or less, we're going to talk about this dear young lady by the name of Cheslie Kryst. Cheslie Kryst is from the Tar Heel State. She's from the state of North Carolina, the greatest state in the union. And she went to Wake Forest University, I believe, and got an undergraduate. And she went to South Carolina, I believe, and got a Juris Doctorate. And so, you know, when you look at this young lady, on the outside, she looked like a beautiful swan. But a black swan, guys, is something that's synonymous to something ominous on the scene that's predicated on darkness. And many times when we look at people on the outside, they look like they got it all together. But on the inside, they're struggling with many different things. They're struggling with undiagnosed mental illness. They're struggling with things from their past. Boys and girls are struggling with substance abuse and more or less sexual addictions. Some are struggling with molestation that's been unresolved, and some are dealing with trauma. And I decided to do this show because, you know, it's synonymous to what El Guapo talks about. And, you know, part of his show is called Beautiful Lies. And so, you know, there are beautiful lies that we tell ourselves about ourselves and how we're actually feeling. But many times we suffer in silence because we're not willing to look within and get the healing that we need as human beings. And the sad thing about this young woman is that some would ask, could her untimely death have been prevented if we had communities? But back to point as we begin to talk about what's called the illusion. William Glasser, guys, I told you in the past, talked about there were 5 elements that more or less are predicated on choice theory. And Glasser talked about power, fun, freedom, belonging, and survival. But when you look at Cheslie Kryst, you know, she was told that if she went and more or less became a lawyer, even though some said they told her not to do it, that she would more or less have probably felt better about herself. But as Cheslie Kryst began to more or less become a lawyer, she realized that being a lawyer was not the best thing. So in that essence, or in that instance, it was the illusion of power that Miss Kryst had, and she thought the illusion of power could have brought her some level of fun and hope. Some of you guys and women that are listening are dealing with undiagnosed mental illness. It was more or less been foretold that this young lady had depression, a functional level of depression. Now, if you guys are dealing with depression, I need you to call the 1-800 helpline, mental health line, hotline, and try to get a verifiable therapist to help you deal with the things that you're dealing with, because it all starts within the head. And if you guys need a consultation relating to whatever you're going through, please email me at coachclinician@gmail.com. That's coachclinician@gmail.com. Illusions lead to delusions when we're not willing to do the work to help us overcome the things that we're dealing with. And we all deal with illusions. An illusion is the belief that something is there. You know, it's the belief that something is there, almost like a magician. It's an illusion. It's not really there, but we think it's there. How many times have people more or less deferred some of the better things in their life for the illusion of fun, freedom, power, and happiness, only to realize it was just an illusion? And the worst thing happens when you don't understand that if you're not careful, that illusion becomes a delusion. So before we continue this conversation, I'm going to send a shout out to my man, JT Corn Rings. Shout out to JT Corn Rings for the $5, $2 super sticker.
That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
We talk about the dark side,
right? That's a deal,
because there are many men
right?
and women, but more or less specifically women that are listening. You guys are dark swans. You guys wear the veneer of being happy, but somewhere on the inside, you're actually dealing with unresolved grief. You're dealing with unresolved pain, and you're dealing with the unresolved by thinking that careers, money, and status could bring you happiness. The greatest indictment in modern time is the disillusionment of the family. The family at one point was the greatest icon or thing on the earth. But as we continue to traverse through these times that we live in, family is actually beginning to become less and less and less and less important. And I told you guys that there are 7 steps that a man must go through in order to become optimized, and family is one of those things that help men become the better versions of themselves. But this young lady, Cheslie Kryst, was a very complex young lady, because as I said earlier, on the outside, she looked like she was whole. On the outside, she looked like she was okay. And my heart goes out to the family of Cheslie Kryst. My heart goes out to them, because if you've never lost a child, you can now understand the pain associated with losing a child. And so we need to have these kind of discussions because, you know, salaciousness has its place. But we need to get more serious about the importance of mental health and mental wellness, because we're living in a time when many people are actually dark swans, as I said earlier, many of our women, because they have been hoodwinked by the lies of liberalism that told them they can have everything, but they only come to the realization that they don't have it. After they got everything, they still feel empty inside. Could Cheslie Kryst been more or less saved if she was more or less put family before career? Could she have been saved if she had a loving husband to surround her? And I'm only speculating. So we got to have these conversations, guys. We got to have these conversations because there was a time where black people were not complicit in suicide or suicidal ideations. But based on some contingent research, it more or less supports that black male suicide is on the rise, and there's a national issue with suicide on the rise as well. And we tend to minimize it because we don't think that we really need to take care of it. We wear that veneer of happiness when, in essence, we're suffering on the inside. Shout out to my man Barry Hamilton for the comment. He said, "Good morning." Okay, he must be in England. No doubt. How you doing, brother? You guys said my volume is low. Can you guys hear me now? Is my volume low? Let me know if my volume is still low. If it's not, hit the 1 button. If the volume is not low, hit the 1 button. But back to what I was saying, William Glasser talked about those 5 elements of power, fun, freedom, belonging. And Glasser also talked about survival. And could one of those 5 elements have more or less been thwarted because Cheslie Kryst did not have those things in her life? Because Glasser said that needs drive behaviors. And many times those needs that are driving behaviors are really unconscious. You're not even aware of it. But many times, as I heard from some of the pundits in the media, some say that this young woman was picked on. They talked about her body. She dealt with identity issues because she was a byproduct of a white Polish father, and her mother was a black woman. So the question remains, that was Cheslie Kryst dealing with some unresolved issues with her identity? Did she become a victim of what William Glasser talked about as it relates to the 5 elements of human kindness and human existence: the fun, power, freedom, survival, and belonging? Your time on this earth is very time sensitive. It's very time limited. And many people are suffering in silence because they don't have the proper supports in their network to help them get the help that they need. And so we talk about it many times. We continue to talk about it. The disillusionment of the community has begun to go away. The amplification of the church that used to be a beacon of hope for so many has begun to go away because it appears that many modern churches have more or less placed mammon over objectivity as it relates to God's word. And so because of that, black men don't go to church. Because of that, young people are looking for extra spiritual enlightenments outside of the church because they're not amplifying the message of the gospel. And that's why we got to have these conversations, because as I said before earlier, illusions have led to delusions. Illusions have led to delusions. And have those illusions more or less gotten you guys that are listening to the point you are not dealing with the things that you need to deal with because you feel like once you look in the mirror that you're okay, which is an illusion. And when Cheslie Kryst was looking in the mirror, she was a victim of an illusion that eventually turned to a delusion, because when the black swan was more or less permeate inside of her head, then she didn't do anything about it to the point that perhaps her life would have been spared. And so once again, we need to talk about the ravages of mental illness and mental wellness. And one of the beautiful lies that we tell ourselves, once again, shout out to my man, Guapo. He shall be popping in at some point. And he's going to talk about the origin of beautiful lies and what beautiful lies mean to him. How many of you men tell yourself the beautiful lies about power and fame and wealth and fortune and relationships, only to become victims of your own ignorance, because once you really open up your eyes, you realize it was just an illusion. And because you stayed in that illusion too long, you became deluded, which in essence hurt you even more. The illusion of Cheslie Kryst was that she thought that she was a white swan. But she was broken in parts due to her functional depression based on what her mother said. And we're going to run a few more clips talking about this young lady because her whole incident, her whole episode was sad. It was very sad. And it was sad because some would argue that it could have been dealt with in a different direction. So I'm going to play one of the clips talking about this young lady and her untimely death and the weirdness of the situation as well. Because, just looking at that young lady, she was an illusion. She was an illusion unto her own self. And also, I'm sure she was an illusion to many. Because when you look at this young woman, she looks like she was okay, full of life, beaming with hope, beaming with joy, and beaming with what's called wellness. She was a workout junkie. She was physically fit. But the sad thing is that she was not mentally fit. And she talked about some of the microaggression that she went through as a black lawyer and a black attorney. She talked about a time when there was a case that she was part of, and when she would go to disposition hearings many times, some of the white counterparts would ask her where the lawyer's at. So you took a beautiful woman like her that perhaps was dealing with sometime her own beauty, but also dealing with her more or less unresolved as it relates to her image with power. And so when you got a person that's dealing with functional depression, she's dealing with that her identity is from being a biracial woman, but then also she's dealing with some of the stress of being a lawyer. Then who's to say that all those things combined cause this woman, young woman, to break? And so once again, she became a victim of what was called the dark side of beauty. The beauty of power, the beauty of fame, the beauty of wealth, the beauty of renown, and all of those things turn into beautiful lies. The beautiful lies that we all tell ourselves on a regular basis, that if we get that next raise and that next promotion, our life will be better. The beautiful lies that we tell ourselves that we get that fine girl with the nice hips, our lives will be better. The beautiful lies that we tell ourselves that if we lie or more or less compromise our integrity, we'll feel good about ourselves, only to deal with the dark side of beauty when we are suffering in silence alone. And see, that's what happens when human beings are not held accountable by their counterparts. When men have other men in their lives to hold them accountable, they're not more or less predisposed to being caught up with beautiful lives and the dark side of beauty, because they have people in place that can hold them accountable. Same as the women, if they're willing to listen. But once again, we have become more isolated as a community. We are victims of something called the metaverse, where we get caught up in things that are virtual, but they're not really real. And once again, those illusions become delusions because we don't do the necessary work to self-introspect. And we're just like the frog in the pot, to the point we begin to boil, only to become victims of our own demise because things don't turn out the way we thought they should turn out. Not only does it happen to men, but it also happens to many of our women. And sadly, once again, my heart goes out to this young, talented lawyer from North Carolina, Cheslie Kryst. The dark side of beauty. I want you guys to ask yourself the question, what is your dark side of beauty? What are some of the things you're dealing with that you have not more or less addressed or faced? Some of you women, as I said earlier, are dealing with traumas from the past that you have not adequately addressed. Some of you men are dealing with trauma from the past that you have not adequately addressed as well. Some of you are dealing with things that are more or less still in the back of your mind that's causing you to be, or to more or less have a schema affliction. And because of that schema affliction, you can't move forward. Because of that schema affliction, you can't be the better version of yourself because you are suffering in silence. You are suffering because you've been conditioned not to think that your diagnosis or the issue that you're dealing with are normal. You say to yourself that what you're dealing with is okay. And because of that, you're dealing with the dark side of beauty, which in essence turns to a beautiful lie. And as Bishop Charles E. Williams said in the past, y'all ain't gonna talk to me. Before I continue, shout out to my man, Top Gun, for the $5, $10 super sticker. Thank you, brother. He said, great topic tonight, good brother. Delusions of grandeur is at an all-time high in the Matrix. Yes, it is at an all-time high in the Matrix, an all-time high. And it's at an all-time high with some of our women as it relates to relationships, as it relates to their life in general. Some of you men are dealing with delusions of grandeur. Some of you have been victims of the beautiful side of darkness and also have told yourselves beautiful lies. Shout out again once to El Guapo. And hopefully he'll be on at some point. But we have these conversations, guys, because these conversations are very necessary. Cheslie Kryst had the whole world cast before her feet. On the outside, she looked like she was a whole woman. But on the inside, she was suffering. She was suffering in silence with functional depression, but also she was suffering in silence with a myriad of issues. How many of you young men and women are actually dealing with some level of depression, whether it be situational depression or whether it be actually organic depression? Situational depression is something that more or less comes upon you that goes away over the period of time. Organic depression is something that you're born with. Regardless if you got $1 million in the bank, you still might get depressed. And so when you got other things you're dealing with, racism, when you're dealing with an uncooperative woman, when you're dealing with images from your past that have more or less hindered you, hold you renderless, those things combined with that organic depression can become very dangerous, but also very negative. And that's why we got to have these discussions. If you guys are dealing with undiagnosed mental illness, hit that 1-800 hotline, 1-800 mental health hotline. And if you're dealing with some issues that need consultation, come see me at kosherclinician@gmail.com. Come see me at kosherclinician@gmail.com, as I am a licensed therapist with a background in many different areas. How many of you guys and ladies that are listening are Cheslie Kryst? How many of you young men and women that if you did the same thing to delete yourself, you will leave many people flabbergasted? Because when they look at you, they look at a person that appears to be whole and well. They look at a person that appears to be functional, a person that appears to be a person of happiness. But really, they're suffering on the inside. I'm going to read some of these comments real quick because it's very important that we have these conversations. We got to have these conversations. Sweet Lulu Bean said, how many black women think job and money will provide them all the satisfaction they need? Family values and good relations with men are optimal and important. And I agree with you 1,000%, dear. And how are you doing, by the way? I agree, Sweet Lulu Bean. And I think that that's been the epigenesis to many of the things that some of our women are dealing with. Some of our men as well. When you put career over the importance of family, even though I'm not against career, many times you come out sad on the back end. On your latter stages, when you're about to cross over into the spirit realm, you're not going to be concerned about your degrees on the wall. You're not going to be concerned about that nice car on the outside. You're not going to be concerned about the money in the bank. You're going to be hoping that you have family to help usher you into the other side. And that's what's wrong with the world today. We have more or less minimized the importance of family. Who's to say that Cheslie Kryst family pushed her into going to becoming a lawyer? Who's to say that she had other plans and family members told her that career and getting your education played a more vital role than her own happiness? Shout out to Chantel Simone when she talked about the things that she went through as a young woman, where she said she talked about her mother told her to get her education and to focus on her education instead of more or less focusing on the things that are necessary and vital. So we got to have these conversations, guys. We got to have these conversations. We got to have these conversations because mental health and mental wellness is very important. It's very important. And until we do the work to help overcome the things that we're dealing with, whether it be our formative years, we're going to continue with this cycle of deprivation. We're going to continue with it. So once again, how many of you guys are dealing with the illusions of power? Glasser talked about it because there's nothing wrong with power, fun, freedom, belonging, and survival if it's healthy. I'm going to say it again. There's nothing wrong with fun, power, survival, freedom, and belonging if it's healthy. But it becomes unhealthy when we don't have balance. And many times the things that cause that balance is something called community, something that's more or less a vestige of the past, something of nostalgia. We used to have community and family, but we don't have it anymore. I grew up in a time where there was community, family, and churches, and things were a lot better. Wasn't perfect, but it was a lot better. But now with technology and people being more socially awkward because they're not actually communicating with human beings, because of the social distancing that we're dealing with, because of isolation, it's caused a lot of issues and it's caused a lot of pain. So we got my man, the man of the hour, El Guapo.
What's good, Coach? How are you, sir?
How you doing, brother? How you doing, sir?
I'm good. I apologize for running late, man.
You're fine.
Life got in the way, bro.
Man, you're fine, man. I'm honored to have you on the platform. I decided, El Guapo, to bring you on the show, man, because the topic of your show, or the title of your show, is called Beautiful Lies. And beautiful lies are the things that we tell ourselves about the illusion of what's right, delusion of something is good. But many times, El Guapo, we become saboteurs of our own ignorance because we don't do the necessary introspection to realize that that illusion is actually a delusion, which is the dark side of beauty. Tell the audience who you are, and I want you to tell the audience what beautiful lies mean to you and why you started your YouTube platform called Beautiful Lies.
Yeah, man. So first things first, salute and salutations to your audience. Thank you so much. It's always an honor to come up on your platform, man. And I appreciate you availing yourself and your viewers to listen to a little bit that I have to say, man. So I'm really glad and honored to be on here. I have a channel called Beautiful Lies. I started it just under a year ago. And yeah, it started out as kind of like a living diary. I have 3 daughters. And my daughters are young. And just in the eventuality that something ever happened to me, there are so many things that happen in this world that seemingly are good, but ultimately are bad. Minister Jap would say, you know, people will do what feels good instead of doing what's real good. And I'll tell you, man, I wanted to kind of debunk a lot of these beautiful lies for my daughters ahead of time. And, you know, as we get older, we talk about, you know, we've forgotten more than we know. And so I wanted to go ahead and get that library out. And I started making a few videos, you know, and I'll give you an example of a beautiful lie that exists. You know, we as men tend to look at a beautiful woman and think that she is automatically virtuous. That is a huge lie. That is not the case. Right. And so, yeah, it's some of those things that I wanted to get out there. And the channel kind of picked up and took off. And I try to continue to spread that message. We have some fun on here and stuff like that. We also talk about some current events and things of that nature. But that's the purpose. And I think that, you know, with life comes the benefit of wisdom. OK, and so as you get older, you get a bit wiser and you start to realize, you know, hey, a lot of this stuff, some of the younger people don't know, or even people our age that don't have the benefit of our you know, experience. They just don't know. So that's what I'm here for, and that's what I do.
No doubt, no doubt. When you think about the untimely death of Guapo of Cheslie Kryst, a woman that had so much promise going on in her life, a woman that was beautiful, she was gorgeous. You know, she was Miss North Carolina, I believe Miss Universe or Miss America as well. She was a lawyer in the greatest state of the Union, the Tar Heel State. She went to Wake Forest University, I believe. Okay. When you think about her untimely death, and when you think about the things that she went through, if you had to more or less guesstimate, what illusions do you think she went through as it relates to the beautiful lies that she told herself, if you had to guesstimate?
So So I want to be cautious just because of, you know, her tragic story and everything like that. But let me speak in general. Can I do that?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
One thing that I know for certain is the most beautiful lie that is ever told is the lie that we tell ourselves. That is the lie that we tell ourselves, that if I achieve this, this will make me happy. If I act like this, this is the result that I'm going to get. That I'm really this type of person, when in fact I have not done the work to be this type of person. I don't know if that's necessarily the case with her, but I will tell you that that is something where, you know, once that gets debunked, once life shows you the truth and you realize, hey, this is not exactly what I thought it was all it was going to be cracked up to be. That is the cognitive break, or as you call it, the schema affliction that comes through that makes you realize, oh my gosh, man, everything that I thought was true is not true. And that can be rough on a person.
Right.
That can be really, really rough on a person. So I am extremely saddened about what happened to her. Yes. But one of the things that we talk about a lot in the manosphere is beautiful women tend to have their growth and development stunted once they realize that, you know, men will do things for them simply because they're beautiful. They stop maturing. I do not know, for the record, I do not know if this is the case with her.
Yes, sir. Right.
Right. But what I will say is there is a pretty privilege, but it's a gift and a curse as well. And I have 3 pretty daughters, and this is something that I need to make sure that they continue to develop as people and not just sit back on their looks, because their looks are going to be fleeting, you know. It's hard to really say and know for sure, but I can tell you, man, it's heartbreaking to know that she had so much potential to do well and everything like that, and she took her life. So it saddens me, man. But let me ask you, Kosher.
Yes, sir.
And I try to be cautious on other people's platforms.
Yes, sir. No, you're fine, brother. Go ahead.
Would you mind if I mention another content creator? Because I learned this from them, and I don't think a lot of people know.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, brother. Go ahead. Go ahead.
There's a channel called Immortal Minds,
I know.
And the owner of that channel is a guy named Soul Immortal. And Soul Immortal, I've been a subscriber of his for years.
Yes, sir. I know.
And he's a brother down in Texas, and he talks about, you know, the mask that people wear.
Yes, right.
And imagine, Kosher, you coined the phrase, which I think is absolutely brilliant, the Medusa complex, right? And if you wear that mask in the mirror every single day, if that's what you get up and you lie to yourself and tell yourself you're this one thing and you're actually something different, but you force yourself to see the mask every day, and then one day, for whatever reason, that mask is ripped away from you, people lose it.
They lose it, right?
Yeah.
That is very true. That is very true. Shout out to my man, James Turner, for the $25 super sticker.
Shout out James Turner.
Yeah, James is a good brother. He said, Kosher, financially and educationally, I'm doing well. However, without the family unit to have my six and cheerleading, it means nothing. Right, it means nothing. Because every man want a woman to have his six. You know, Guapo, you were in the military, you know, and I talked about the importance of, if you protect his six, then he will protect your six. But when a woman's six is not protected, meaning that man is showering her with love, because women are very insular. And when the man is not having his six protected because his six is his ego, then both are very vulnerable. We live in a time at Guapo where family has dissipated at an all-time high. Communities have dissipated. I would say that you and I went through a time period where families were more intact. The communities were more intact. I would more or less suggest in the South, I remember in high school and maybe in elementary school, that it was normal to see out of a family of 10, at least 8 had a mother and a father. Yep. On the flip side now, I would argue that at least probably 3 have a mother or a father. And while this young lady had parents, it was purported that, you know, she dealt with some microaggressions. She dealt with some issues about her race. And when you more or less compile all these things into one, that functional depression is exacerbated and taken to a higher level. So I'm very hurt and sad by this beautiful young woman. But I'm gonna ask you a question. What was the beautiful lies that you told yourself as a man that led to what was called the dark side of beauty? You know, your name, Guapo, means handsome.
Yep.
And so just like your name means handsome, what were some of the beautiful lies that you told yourself that led you to the dark side of beauty as well as a man?
Here's the big one. And boy, this is something I've not really ever talked much about outside of with my personal therapist and my mentor, but I'm going to give you an exclusive.
Yes, sir.
So I'm what's known as a bottle rocket. Okay. So a bottle rocket takes off fast, shoots up into the atmosphere, blows up, and then no more exists. I'm a front runner. I'm somebody that can start quick, and a lot of times that tends to fizzle out. And in the past, it's been from a lack of doing the work. I'm a guy that doesn't like school, but I test well, you know. And so my biggest one is thinking that I'm better than I actually was. And it wasn't until I surrounded myself with men that really were about that life, that really were as good as I thought I was, and I saw the amount of work that they put in and the depth of dedication that they had, that I was like, oh, I see there's different levels to this. So a lot of it came from not knowing, you know. There are no perfect parents, even though mine are great, they're still alive. You know, no parent's going to get it all together for their child and teach them everything. So my biggest one is that, listen, you got to do the work, man. You've got to do the work. The last 6 years of my life have been about putting in the work. Can I bring up something else?
Yes, go ahead, brother.
One of the things that LeBay and I just got back into the gym today. We recently moved. We've been scoping out gyms and stuff like that. And I realized that, I've been younger and much stronger, a black Adonis before. I've been that, you know what I mean? And one of the things that takes is commitment and discipline. You have to be consistent in what you're doing and stuff like that. So when you are somebody like me, like a bottle rocket, when you're somebody that is used to always being in first anyway, at least in the beginning, based off of natural abilities, be it your looks, be it your height, you're taller than me, you understand what I'm talking about.
What you're talking about,
be it your intelligence, your vernacular, the way that you can command a room. There's so many things that people cling to naturally, but you don't do that work. If I would have got on that bench today and, like Lee talks about, tried to put up 315 pounds, I would have killed myself because I did not condition myself to be in that position. Well, sometimes life will throw 315 pounds at you.
Right.
And the question is, have you put yourself in the position to maneuver and manipulate that weight in that moment? That's why I don't agree with everything that Kevin Samuel says. I agree with a lot.
Right.
But I am 110% about what he says when it comes to therapy and mental health and mental well-being. That is something that is so underrated and ignored in our Black community. And that's why I think that your channel is so crucial and imperative to this space, because there is a physical well-being, but there's also mental exercises that you have to do. You've got to be ready. And listen, I'm not ashamed to say it. I have dealt with depression before.
Yes.
But I mentally exercise my mind and I keep in contact, and I have people that do those wellness checks with me and stuff like that. And I see it when it's coming now. You know why? Because I stay in that mental gym to make sure that El Guapo is okay.
Right.
And that way, when the weight of the world, that 15-pound barbell drops on me, mentally, I'm ready. I'm ready. I can at least hold that bad boy up enough to get the spotter to, yo, help, come help me. You know what I'm saying? I don't just let it fall on my neck. And this is something that we don't do in our community. And once again, I want to take it away from the young lady that passed away, but I think that it's so important. Forget think. Let's not mince words. I know it is so important for us to do this and have these conversations. And this is why I say, man, yo, you in this space, you're so crucial to what we're trying to accomplish. Listen, I gotta open a window real fast.
Yes, sir. Go ahead. Go ahead, brother.
I'm gonna just jump off camera. I'm right here, though. I'll be right back.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, brother. I'm gonna read out these super stickers. Shout out to my man, MC Recovery Wellness and Program Relapse Show. He said that I shared this with 24 people a moment ago. Sensitive issue of work. Yes, sir. Thank you, brother. Thank you for that. And shout out to Bravo with Sheila, ladies chat, for the $2 super sticker. Wonderful conversation. Bravo. Thank you, dear, for that. I really appreciate that. I appreciate you guys giving as we talk about this timely discussion and this timely issue related to the beautiful lies that we tell ourselves as a byproduct of the dark side of beauty. As I said before earlier, illusions become delusions when we don't deal with the things that can help us become better people. Many of our women have been saboteurs of saying getting higher education was the panacea to happiness. But many are realizing, and men are realizing, that wealth, attainment, and all of the above does not always guarantee happiness. And so until we begin to look within ourselves and go back and uncover so that we can recover, we'll never be able to deal with the things that have more or less hurt us in the past. And that's why these conversations are so important. That's why these conversations need to be talked about. Because many of us are suffering in silence, and we'll continue to suffer because we don't have a community. I'm sure that there are some ladies that are listening that were told that career, power, money, and all brought them extreme happiness, only to go home in a big empty house being sad and depressed. And once again, that was the illusion of happiness. which led to a delusion because they stayed in it. Guapo, you talked about something, man, in the past, and I agree with you. I don't agree with 100% of what anyone says. I like some of the things Kevin Samuel say, but I don't agree 100% with everything he say as well, but he says a lot of good. You talked about power.
Yes.
And so I want to ask you the question, when you think about this beautiful young woman, and once again, we're very empathetic to her untimely demise. You talked about power, and when power is not more or less regulated properly, it can become very dangerous. And so there's one thing called power, but what happens when power supersedes purpose, in your opinion?
Yeah. So the only thing that I think is worse as an amplifier in your life than money is power. Okay. I gave this analogy before. I've talked to some people that were power lifters. Okay. And some of them have been on that gear, that junk, those steroids. Right. And I've talked to them. They've been like, man, steroids are great. You know, it really works and all this stuff. But I had a conversation with one guy before, and this guy was telling me about HGH, human growth hormone.
Human growth hormone, right.
And he was saying, you know what? He said, that's the one I would never try. Because if you have the smallest amount of cancer in your body, that HGH will cause it to grow out of control. It'll help your muscles. It'll be the best thing in the world that has ever happened to your workouts. But if you have any type of impurity in your body, it will cause it to grow out of control. That's what power does. I hate the saying that absolute power corrupts absolutely. People don't even know what the hell they're talking about.
Right.
People can't even properly define power. But I'm going to tell you like this. As much as I hate the saying, it's actually true. It is true. When you have power, let's just give some examples on YouTube. Can I do that?
Yeah, go ahead, brother. Yes, go ahead.
Is it fair to say that Derek Jackson used the power from his platform to mess with these other women?
Yes.
Is it fair to say that Fresh and Fit have used the power of their platform to mess with other women?
Yes, sir. It's fair to say.
Is it fair to say that Tasha K, who I'm actually on Tasha K's side after her what she did last night when it came to helping out black men that have been falsely accused in this moment, I appreciate Tasha K wholeheartedly. But has she let the power of her platform pervert her perspective and her message to her people for the love of money, for just to get some money? If you aren't really in this, in certain things in life, for the realest reasons, for the purest of reasons, you do not need to wield any type of power.
I agree.
You don't.
Right.
Listen, there's a reason that I don't even want to go down that road, because I promise I won't get political on YouTube, so I'm not going to say that.
Okay, go ahead.
But yeah, there's a reason that power. Let me break it down like this. There's a reason that there were monarchies, and the crown was passed down through bloodlines. It's not necessarily the blood that made you ready for power. It's growing up in the life and normalizing the power around you, so that when you get into that seat of power, from the young prince to the new king, it's been so normal for you, you're not going to flip out like somebody that just won the lottery.
Right.
You've been groomed to have power.
Right.
It's a big, big difference. Right. So when you talk about being on your purpose and stuff like that, power can sometimes be a byproduct of some of the other things that we're trying to do. We see it on social media, and power is akin to influence as well. Right. When you have influence over people, you essentially have power over them in a lot of ways. And people take that way too far left, and they don't have the right purpose. If they're not about doing the right thing, they'll mess it up. So I'm a huge proponent that power needs to be wielded by the very few.
Right.
Very, very few. Right. Most people are not going to know and understand how to really administer justice properly and be fair with the power that they have in their lives. So, yeah.
Black Charlie Brown said something that was very powerful, and we're going to talk about the delusion and the beautiful lie of feminism that more or less is a byproduct of the dark side of beauty. He said that Cheslie Kryst had an existentialist crisis that was rooted in feminism. She had anxious feelings about children, family, and relationships. Despite her success in other avenues, a lot of women are like this. What's your take on that?
I don't know much about the young lady, but I will talk about Black women in general. How about that?
That's fine.
So here's what I'll say. Can you put the comment back up? Let me read it again.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go ahead, brother.
And anxious feelings about children. Yeah, this happens, man.
Right.
This happens. I got a video coming out. And not to promote my channel, I'm sorry, but the topic is relevant. Mm-hmm. All mothers aren't good mothers.
Right.
All mothers aren't meant to be mothers. Mm-hmm. And so having anxious feelings about children, that I get that, because there are more women that I think that than we know and are willing to acknowledge that have do not have that maternal instinct the way that they do, especially in the face of modern feminism. Because that's not what they're taught. That's not what's promoted. Okay. I can see, Black Charlie Brown, where you're coming from. I think that feminism is one of the biggest deceivers of this modern world, because it's. Oh, can I say this, Kosher?
Go ahead.
It's going to be wild. You might have to clip this out.
Go ahead.
You ready?
Go ahead.
Feminism has essentially turned a lot of women into the house Negro. Mm-hmm. It has made them really believe that they are something that they're not.
Right. And
they will never be. Mm-hmm. I say all the time that a woman's power lies in her femininity. There's nothing over here in masculinity for her. Right. You know, right. There is nothing in let's not even talk about a power struggle between Black and white, but there is nothing over in me trying to be white. If I was trying to be white, my power is in being Black, because I am Black, you know? So yeah, I think feminism has turned a lot of women into house Negroes. Right.
And that goes back to the dark side of beauty, because there's a beauty in the illusion of feminism. But in actuality, when we have these conversations in these spaces, when men tell women what they want, instead of our women rising up to supersede what they were told, El Guapo, they become like the frog in the pot, which in essence make them become very deluded. Yep. And that delusion has caused them to have a lot of brokenness, a lot of sadness, a lot of pain, because the intactness of having a man covering them is very important. Why is it so important, El Guapo, in your opinion, to have a man covering you in these very turbulent times that we live in?
Because the world is a dangerous place.
Right.
I mean, the world is a dangerous place, Kosher. You hear about feminism being a first world problem. You can only be a feminist in the first world country, right? When it comes down to it, if you are a average, I don't know how tall the average woman is, like 5'5", I would imagine.
5'3".
5'3".
5'4".
5'4". And let's say you're a 5'4", 160-pound woman. What are you going to do against a man that's 5'10" and 170, just 10 pounds heavier than you? There's nothing that you can do, if we were in a primitive state and everything like that. And I don't think that people realize how fragile society actually is today. Let emergency services stop. Just let 911 stop answering the phone. Then how important is that man to you? Something as simple as that. Just 911 for a week, stop answering the phone. Kevin Samuels gives the analogy of the power going out for a week. Just let 911 stop answering the phone. You're going to want to be around strength, and we are just physically stronger. As much as they talk about, the protective mother, it is ingrained in being masculine to be a protector.
Yes.
Especially amongst Black men, especially amongst us. Y'all don't even think the level of protection like we think. You just don't. This is not a diss to any woman. I love women. I love Black women. But I'm telling you right now, there are things that you ponder and Your inner machinations are completely different than ours. There are things that you think about that I can't understand. Hence, and therefore, there are things that I think about that you can't understand. And so when it comes down to it, to safety and having the covering of a man, LeBay is 5'2".
Mm-hmm.
If we always hear if somebody were to kick in the door, you know, if she was at the grocery store and I was not there,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and somebody came to take her purse or something like that, a man came to take her purse, if no other man intervened, her purse would be taken.
Right.
The simple fact that she's walking through the grocery store with me at my size is enough of a deterrent for the dude to not even try.
Right.
So, and that sounds super misogynistic and all that stuff, but the truth is what it is. All that crap goes out of the window when our level of society just breaks down just one level.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about if society broke down just back 50 years,
right?
You can't be this fourth wave feminist that you are today.
Right. I totally agree. I totally agree, man. And all that is a combination of the pain and the disassociation with the things of life that's causing so many to be renderless, Guapo, not only in life, but also in relationships. And I'm a firm believer that relationships are the most important thing on this planet, second to family.
I agree.
And when you more or less coalesce those two, Guapo, together, you have more stability. Now listen, we talk about how so many of our women and men, but especially our women, are victims of what's called beautiful lies. You did a show about a month ago talking about, I think, the 3 things or 5 things in our society that you think is causing our society to become very decadent. I want you to go back over those 5 things, Guapo, that you talked about that you felt like was a issue with the Black community. I think you said it was absentee fathers or single parents.
Oh, right. It was actually, what is the most dangerous group in the Black community?
Right.
Was that one?
Right.
Absentee fathers, single Black mothers over the age of 60, like baby boomer Black mothers, white knights, and single Black mothers.
Right.
My vote is for the white knights. I think white knights, and for the audience that may not know, a white knight is a man that is going to come to the rescue of a woman in any situation, regardless of what it is.
Right.
Okay. We see that a lot in the Black community. And there are a lot of Black white knights that are big, buff, violent MFers. There's a whole bunch of them. Right. That is a very hood mentality, if you ask me. Mm-hmm. Oh, you better not say nothing about my mama. Now, here's why. And I love my mother. I absolutely love her. But the second that you remove accountability from a person and you show show them that they can do no wrong in your eyes, you're almost forcing them to act and behave badly. It's almost like you're forcing them to do it. It's like there's a saying in the Black community, spare the rod, spoil the child. That applies to adults as well.
I totally agree.
So if you spare that rod, if you don't hold people accountable, I'm not talking about physically punishing them. But what I'm talking about is if you don't hold people accountable, like, hey, it's not cool that you said that. Well, I'm your mama. You have a mama too. I shouldn't say this, Coach. I'm going to say it. You ready?
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Being a mother is not as special as women make it out to be. Mm-hmm. Every person walking the face of this earth has a mother. Mm-hmm. So I've heard Jap say this. The second that you pull that out of the bag, it goes to show that you're not a good mother. Mm-hmm. If you have to say, well, because I'm your mom, do it because I'm your mother. That is the lowest form. How about because I invested in you and I taught you better than this and I've ingrained this in you. Because I'm your mama is some BS.
Right.
It's just the same as yo mama Black. It's right. So it's the lowest level of an argument that you can have. Mm-hmm. So, man, I'll tell you, The problem is that, yes, that may originate in other places. You know, it may originate, I believe, like the baby boomer mothers are who kind of started this trend. Okay. And it came down to the Gen Xers and then, you know, the millennials, and now we have the Zennials, and nobody respects the Black family the way that they should. Right.
I agree.
But when it comes to the most dangerous group, it's those hyper violent hood dudes that are white knights. What'd you say to my sister? Sister could have acted all kinds of a fool in a situation.
Right.
And Corey Holcomb talks about this. And a woman will say something to that white knight man and just send him off. How many Black men do we have in prison? How many Black men do we have in the grave behind being sent off behind the words of a woman without any verification or anything like that? I'm telling you, Kosher, I'll defend the ladies in my life for sure, but I just won't defend the BS. You're not going to send me off on a lie. You better tell me the truth.
Right.
You know, tell me what's up.
Right.
You know, hey, you smacked him in the face and he punched you in the nose. Okay, I'm going to go do something about that.
Right.
Okay, but you know, you can't just sit there and say this and just lie on people and all. It's a mess, man. And that's why, circling back, I'm so thankful to Tasha K for speaking out against them false allegations last night. Shout out to her, yo.
Right.
Shout out to her.
Right. Yeah, I saw Mr. Palmer. He did a show on it earlier.
Yeah.
Shout out
real
to
fast. Hey, LeBay, if you're watching this, can I have another scotch? I'm out of my scotch. Thanks.
Lulu Bean said that the beautiful lie I told myself that I would be happy when I achieved my goals. It was a duty to make my parents proud, so when I fell short, I didn't think I was good enough. When we look at this young woman, and we want to make sure we're very sensitive to her untimely demise. Let's take her out of the picture. How many do you know, El Guapo, men or women, that were more or less thought that once they reached their goals, they would be happy, only to feel empty once they reach the pinnacle of their success?
I'm gonna tell you a story. I got a good one, man. I should break this picture out.
Go ahead, break it out.
No, I don't know where it is because we just moved, but
cool.
I'm gonna tell you a story.
Right.
In college, I dated this beautiful half Black, half Latina woman. Let's call her Kay. Okay. And I really dug her, man. We got along great. She was maybe 3 years younger than me. I think I was like 22 and she was 19. She went to a different school, and everything was great. And then I got out of school, came home, and she broke up with me. I'm not going to lie. You know, I was ready to start settling down and get married. And she was like, you know, I feel like I'm just getting ready to get out of college and I want to have some fun. And, you know, I have this big career that I want to do and I want to start this business and all that stuff. And before I, you know, have kids and everything, and I'm just not in the same place that you are. Fast forward 20 years, because I'm 43. And not this past Christmas, but the Christmas before. She and I still converse every once in a while. LeBay and I got a Christmas card from her. And it was a really nice picture of her under the Christmas tree. And in one arm, she had, you know, the ugly Christmas pajamas on. You know what I'm talking about, Kosher? And in one arm, she had her cat in matching pajamas.
Right.
And laying at her feet, she had her dog in matching pajamas. And does she own 2 houses right now? Sure. Hang on one second. You're pretty. Can you take this? That's fine, baby. Thank you. You're up there cooking? Baby, it's okay. I'm live. LeBea says hi.
Hello. Tell her to say hello.
She's upstairs cooking.
No
okay. So, and at her feet is her dog in matching pajamas.
Right.
No children, never been married. The career that she thinks she has, she realizes it's just a job and she hates it.
She hates, right.
She hates the fact that she's 40 now. She's worked 20 years of her life. She's got another 25 to go. She's not even halfway there. She hates it. She is the zenith of the dog mom. I looked at the Christmas card and I went on a rant. LeVay will tell you, I was like, this is what's wrong today. She believed the lie. And I talk about this all the time. You can have anything you want. You just can't have everything that you want.
Right.
And especially when it comes to women, the chronology of your life matters.
Right.
When Ayanna Van Zandt says that you're out of order, she's more than she realizes. She's right. Because in a literal sense, women do their stuff in their life in the wrong order. Secure the family, have the kids when your body can bounce back and everything, and then go out and do the career. Then go out and start the business, But you wait until your 30s and you have your fun and all that stuff, and this is the result. And Kay is a singular example of quite a few women that I know for real in my personal life that are living like that.
Right.
No children, no covering, no husband, nothing to look forward to, but a job that they fought so hard to get themselves into debt to that they ultimately hate. They ultimately hate. Can I tell you a quick story, Kosher?
Yes, sir, brother. Go ahead.
I don't mean to monopolize the show.
No, you're not. Go ahead.
Yeah, super chat. Let me stoke this fire. I got a story for you though. Give me 2 seconds.
Go ahead and stoke the fire. The fire. In the meantime, shout out to my man Michael Graham. Thank you, brother, for the $5 cash app. Thank you, Michael Graham. Thank you, sir, for your kindness. Putting 5 on it. I appreciate it, brother. And guys, if you have not donated to the channel, please donate to the channel. But if you don't have any money to give, please share this content, because mental illness and mental depravity is an issue in the Black community that needs to be addressed. The more we continue to go around not dealing with mental illness and mental disorders, the more we will continue on that downward spiral as it relates to the evolution of the family, something that many feel will never come back into fruition again. As I said earlier, some of you guys, men and women, are Cheslie Kryst. Some of you guys are Cheslie Kryst. Some of you guys are suffering in silence because you believe, or more or less were a victim of, the dark side of beauty, which led to a beautiful lie. But Guapo, go ahead and tell the story, and I'm going to talk about something because this is Sunday, and it's very powerful. This is synonymous to what the gospel talks about, the lust of the flesh. But before we talk about that, go ahead, brother, and break it down for me. Go ahead.
I love a person that just can be honest, that can own their BS and just in a moment be like, you know what, I did it this way, but this is not the way I should have done it. Or I am here, and as much as I might want to make sure that people look at me a certain way, here's the real truth. I dated a young lady before I met my second wife. Beautiful, beautiful woman. Gym rat. Really liked her a lot. Smart woman, had been married before, had 2 kids from marriage. Now, never met her children, but I was having a conversation with her one day. And she said to me, she was like, you know what? I've got this job and everything, and I hate it. And I really want to just find, a guy that will, just take care of me. And my kid's dad is a good dad, and I've actually talked to him. And if I get married again, he's more than willing to take the kids. And I will be so good to that man and stuff like that. But the simple fact that she admitted that she hated this job she had worked so hard to get meant the world to me. I was like, bruh, that's something I could possibly work with. Now,
yes, right.
Yeah, it's like, yo, but y'all stand on a house of cards. It's coming tumbling down. Let me tell you, nobody in the U.S. has a good job. There's no such thing as a good job. The United States system, economic system, is built on free enterprise and capitalism. Okay, right. Free enterprise is business ownership. Okay, if you think your job is good, go look at go on the IRS website and look at some of the tax codes, and then you will fully understand that. Guess what? The tax code was not written for employees. It was written for business owners. So y'all don't know what you're talking about. Period, point blank. You don't. And this is men too, that you think you have this good job. I got a good job. I work virtually, make well into the 6 figures. I go in and manage my team as I see fit. but it's not a good, to you guys that may seem good, but the simple fact that I got to pay so much in taxes does not make it good.
Right.
And the fact that somebody else is writing my paycheck, let me tell you something, people, ladies especially, understand this, that whatever your salary is, it's about 1/3 of what you're actually worth. Okay. Because there are expenses that go along with your employment, like your insurance and the taxes that your company has to pay to the government and stuff like that. But there's also, you got to understand, you got to be okay with people making money off of you. So the company that employs you has to make money off of your labor as well. Do you understand that? So that means if you make $150,000, your work is actually worth about $450,000. Take it from somebody that has employed people before. So, yeah, man. Yeah, I like it when women can be honest, bro.
No doubt. I think that's the one that can help them overcome the Medusa complex. Shout out to my man Top Gun for the $5 super stick. He's a collection plate.
Shout out Top Gun.
He said, let's get our brother. Let's get this brother to fire. He needs it. The room should be more crowded than it is. And I agree with that, man. When it comes down, Guapo, about things dealing with the more sentimental things, the more pertinent things like mental illness and mental wellness, we tend to minimize that over salaciousness. I imagine I was talking about, Tasha K, Duty Low, and Fit and Bay. I probably have, 150 to 200 people in this chat. But when it comes down to the more salient issues like mental wellness and doing the shallow work to uncover, we tend to minimize that. Why is it that we tend to minimize the power of the mind as it relates to mental wellness at Guapo, in your opinion?
Because our society has been conditioned and predisposed towards entertainment. That's it. People just don't want to do the work. This is why channels like yours, this is why channels like mine, Zoom to Thailand was just on with me last night. Channels like his, these are crucial information points.
Right.
And here's why. Because I'm gonna tell you the truth. As bad as society is right now, I don't think there's ever been a greater time in history for people to excel, especially in this country, because the information is so readily available and the bar has been set so low. It's so low. Let me tell you something. We were talking about jobs, right?
Right.
So when you have employees, and you work for a company, you normally have like some type of annual review you have to put up for your employees, right? So as a manager, you have to review them and everything and give them like a satisfactory, needs improvement, exemplary, something like that, right?
Right.
So if your employee comes to work on time every single day, does all the work that they're supposed to do, and never misses a KPI, key performance indicator, any metrics or anything like that, and they are just Johnny on the spot, Mr. or Miss Dependable. What is that? Is that exemplary? A lot of people would say that that's like an excellent. It's not. That's actually what they're supposed to do.
Right.
That's what they're supposed to do.
Right.
That's a satisfactory. Are they volunteering to spearhead projects? Are they going the extra mile? Are they volunteering to fill the gaps when other people are on vacation? Are they, writing new policies? Have they developed a best practice team? That's exemplary. Here's the issue. Life operates on a bell curve, right? Everything is relative to your perspective. So if all your employees show up late, and if all your employees half behind the work that they're supposed to do on a day, the employee that shows up all the time, on time, and does all the work on time and doesn't miss a metric, they are immediately boosted up from being satisfactory to exemplary. It's the same thing when it comes to this dating game and women. Ladies, you are in a pool of women in this Western world where everybody's showing up late, they're half behind in their work. So if you just perform at the level that you're supposed to, you're going to stand out so freaking much. You're going to stand out so much. and you're going to be immediately snapped up. Now, what does that mean? That means that, hey, we should all be healthy and fit, right? So if we're all healthy and fit, then that's the norm. But if 80% of our population of women is overweight and 80% of that is obese, the fit woman is now the 1 in 5. She is the exception. She's no longer the rule. And the simple fact that she's fit skyrockets her into the stratosphere. And now, look, she stands out. So that's what I'm saying. There's not been a better time for people to do what it takes to stand out. And anybody that chooses to lose at this point, it's no longer a skill problem. It's a will problem. You just don't want to do it. You're literally, and that's why I call you a choose to loser. You choose to lose.
I totally agree. I'm gonna run this commercial real quick, Guap, and then we're gonna run this video with Cheslie Kryst as she was talking to Gabrielle Union and Dwayne Wade. So give me 1 minute to run this commercial, okay?
Okay.
You are a victim of brokenness and despair. A broken man is a hopeless man, and a hopeless man is a very dangerous man. Many times, many of you young men that are listening come from homes that are very toxic and very dysfunctional. And because of that, many of you have deferred your power in many ways to the point it's led over into your social life, and many times led over into your relationships. If you guys are dealing with mental health pathologies, conscious and unconscious, come see me at kosherclinician@gmail.com. That's kosherclinician@gmail.com. It's important that you deal with your mental health in order to be a better person for yourself, your loved ones, and also your community. But because mental health is often stigmatized, many of you often suffer in silence. Don't be a victim in silence. And see me once again at kosherclinician@gmail.com. And I need you guys to remember this. If it ain't 7, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, it ain't right. There are 7 steps that a man must go through in order to become an optimized male. And male mental health is one of those elements that's paramount to the functioning of a man. Be well. All right, guys, we're gonna show this this video that Cheslie had with Dwayne Wade and Gab Union, and we're gonna more or less try to find if we can see the parallels to her untimely demise and why this is very ironic but sad at the same time. So I'm gonna run this clip and talk about it as we talk about the untimely death of this beautiful young woman, Cheslie Kryst.
Generous. She was just one of those rare people that had a heart for people. That's Cheslie's grandfather, Gary Simpkins, remembering her with his first statement since her tragic death. To be extinguished so fast is just devastating. And you know that the only way you'll ever see them again is when you yourself pass away. We remember Cheslie as funny and, as so many have said, a beacon of light.
Great. Good.
One of Cheslie's mentors, Gayle King, poured out her heart online in this new essay for Oprah Daily. There was something so special about that sparkle of a girl.
Just in December, we sat down and had lunch together, and we said, isn't this great, right before the holidays? Isn't this great? After the first of the year, instead of Zoom, we can now start meeting in person. And we were very excited about that. I just genuinely liked her and cared about her.
Gayle's CBS Mornings co-host, our former colleague Nate Burleson, also checked in. We were just looking at some old footage of you and Cheslie in New York shooting promos together, and it's funny, it's light, it's a great sort of peek into the relationship that you had with her.
She would walk into the room and she'd be on 10. You know, it's almost like she was floating in. I'm gonna miss that girl. I really am.
Hey y'all, I do a lot to make sure that I maintain my mental health.
Though by all accounts, she seemed so in control, she did share some of her struggles, writing in Allure magazine in an essay last year. Turning 30 feels like a cold reminder that I'm running out of time to matter.
Boom, listen to what this beautiful woman said. Listen to what this beautiful woman said that more or less looked like a white swan on the outside, but she really was a a black swan, a woman that had the veneer of someone happy, but a woman that was more or less a victim of the dark side of beauty that led to a beautiful lie. She thought that she had a limited time on her beauty. And you heard her say unequivocally that she felt like she was irrelevant because she realized that she was 30 and that her time was become more or less more perilous because she probably realized that she wanted a family and children. And that's what it goes back, guys, as relates to what I talked about earlier. We minimize the power of family for the sake of power, which in essence lead to a beautiful lie. Keep listening.
In society's eyes, and it's infuriating. And she had spoken with so many about their battles.
Gabrielle, you've been so open and honest about, some of the challenges you've had, your mental health, even suicidal thoughts.
Cheslie spoke with Gabrielle and her husband Dwayne Wade just last year.
What do you say to someone at home who is feeling hopeless and just needs some encouragement?
Take a lot more joy in the journey, but also therapy. Get it and have no shame about it.
She talked with Mary J. Blige about the revelations that she made in her documentary, My Life.
Most of the times I was just depressed and didn't want to live.
You really went deep into mental health, which previously had a really big stigma around it, especially in the Black community.
I had to show people where all this pain came from that was in my life album in the first place.
And Taraji P. Henson shared her story about having suicidal thoughts in quarantine.
I started having thoughts about ending it.
Can you tell us how you were able to escape and how you stay positive now?
Well, you take each moment. It's not like I wake up every day and I'm happy, but thank God I'm in therapy. I can now identify when I'm about to start the tip down.
In 2020, Cheslie spoke to the online edition of the collegiate newspaper, The Hilltop, for Mental Health Awareness Month.
I try to set very clear boundaries, so even though I'm at home and I've got my computer and my phone with me, I'm done answering emails at 6 o'clock, and that helps me a lot.
The then Miss Teen Universe DC Madison Pina, now a junior journalism major at Howard University, appeared with Cheslie.
I want to make sure that mental health is not frowned upon, but it is understood by students and teachers alike.
And Madison, with me now, after you appeared with Cheslie, did you form some kind of follow-up relationship with her?
Yes, actually, it was so amazing to have her reach out, for her to take that time and speak with me. It's really incredible to see that she was willing to respond.
I have to imagine this left you devastated, stunned, and shocked like the rest of us. How are you feeling right now?
I will admit I had a complete and utter breakdown yesterday. Just hearing what happened, as someone who really advocates for mental health, I just couldn't imagine what she was possibly going through, and I'm just so saddened by this.
If you are struggling and need help, please call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 800-273-8255.
Hey, Kosher, I can't hear you, sir.
This young lady, I apologize. This young lady said something that was very profound, something that Kevin Samuels talked about, Guapo, and something that we all know, that when women reach a certain point, a pinnacle in their life, they realize that their clock is ticking and they become very frantic. And that goes back to that schema affliction that we talked about, or that cognitive break that you so coined it. And she said that once she turned 30, she began to feel like time was running out and she was irrelevant. That goes back to the illusion of power that you and I talked about in the past. Why are so many of our women saboteurs of their own ignorance when they more or less believe that they got unlimited time, like the frog in the boiling pot?
I'm going to tell you, like I said, there's been a systematic attack on women, especially our Black women. And the honest to God truth is, they've been deceived. And hence, once again, why I say I started my channel, because having daughters that are going to turn into young women and into women and mothers, I know that they're being attacked by so many things out here. So as a man and a father and a protector and a provider with a different vantage point, I feel it's my duty to debunk this stuff and say, hey, this sounds good, but ultimately, you're going to end up, if you keep going on this path, sending Christmas cards with your dog and your cat and matching pajamas at Christmas. No heat, no smoke, but that's real.
Right. It is real. And it's really sad that she said that once she became 30, she became very disillusioned and she felt like her time was running out. And that goes back to, once again, what we call the dark side of beauty. The dark side of the beauty of feminism, to say you can have it all. You can have your career, you can have your family, and you can have it all. You hail from, near DC area, I guess.
Baltimore, baby.
You grew up in Baltimore, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the high-profile women that you have seen in the greater DMV area, and some of the struggles that they're dealing with, Guapo, with being high-profile professional women, only to realize the dark side of beauty that led to a beautiful lie.
The best performing video on my channel was on Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith. And Jada is from Baltimore.
Right.
And this is one of those things where seemingly having it all just shows that you're being lied to. That woman has any and everything that she wants, and she's still not happy, to the point that she's, embarrassing her husband in public and things of that nature. I graduated from the same high school as Monique. And we see how that's going. Now, I hear rumors that Monique is ultra submissive to her husband in person, but she has an image and she has earned her image. And this is not an image that I think any woman would honestly really want to sign on for, So, yeah, man, when it comes to the DMV, the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area, I can't tell you how many women I know, women I've dated, women that I've, are friends of friends that are attorneys, that are lobbyists, in the federal government. And, Eric the Red hit it on the nose. Marilyn Mosley is living a beautiful lie. That's a whole show in and of itself. Yeah. There are so many of these women out here, and you just got to boil down. I did, I gave a challenge to my team on my channel to write your obituary if you were to pass away again, specifically, geared towards women. And what would your obituary say? And if it's all about your career and all this stuff, most obituaries don't talk about that. If so, it's half a sentence, he or she was a biomedical engineer or something like that, just referencing that. But if that's all you've got to lean on, most of it is about, this person was survived by this, a loving husband, leaves 3 children and 7 grandchildren, something like that. If your life is not lining up to that, then it is time to, we talk about in the business world, the ladder of success. A lot of people start climbing this supposed ladder of success without watching or looking up at the building that the ladder is up against. And is that the building you really want to climb to the top of? And if it's not, don't just get off the ladder, jump. Turn your life around now, because one thing I can guarantee this. Not a person under the sound of my voice right now will ever be as young as they are right now in this moment. And a lot of our value is tied to our youth, especially when it comes to women. Right. So if you are going down the wrong path or up the wrong ladder, it's time to take a real self-assessment and see if what you're moving towards is where you actually want to ultimately end up. And what's crazy is this was early in my channel, I put that challenge out to write that obituary. And I don't know that anybody did it. I might need to remake that video, man, because if you are not happy with the way that your life is going, if it stopped right now, and you're not happy with the way that it is it going to get better in 10 years? Continuing on the same path that you're on right now, You know, if you take your dream life, you know, and then you look at the path that you are on, you know, are they going to intersect at some point? Most people will say no. You know, so what are you doing in the immediate so that you can get to where you want to be in the future?
No doubt.
Are you doing,
I totally agree.
shout out to Minister Jap one more time. Are you doing what feels good, or are you working towards what's real good?
Right. I totally agree, man. And you made some very good points. I think our women have been sadly compromised, Guap. I think they have been compromised. And Black Uru Strike said she spent 5 years becoming and working as an attorney only to abandon the profession completely. Those were 5 prime years that she could have used to marry and make a family with a good man. And that was the great conundrum. That was the great conundrum about the illusion of power that led to a delusion, as so many are in the boiling pot of life. Just like the frog that's in that boiling pot, he doesn't realize that that pot is boiling till it's too late. And that's what's happened to a lot of our women. They fell victim of the dark side of beauty. We talk about it all the time, Guapo, how women are, you know, they have their greatest assets, you know, no pun intended, when they're younger, you know. You know, they got hips, waist, breasts. They got the things that are needed, the accoutrements, to help them get the man that they want. But, you know, over time, the dark side of beauty is that they think that's going to last forever. Keith Sweat made a song back in the 90s. He said, make this last forever. And many still think that in their latter years, they have the same power that they had in their 20s, only to become victims of their own ignorance by realizing I don't have that power anymore. Why do our society, it's a Western issue like we talked about last night. It's not a Black woman issue, it's a Western issue.
Right.
Why are Western women so victims of their own ignorance, where in other countries they put family and virtue first?
It's just, you ever heard the saying that, you know, pick your battles wisely, and that all battles aren't worth fighting? They just fought a battle that's not worth fighting. It's just not. I get it. No, I do. Listen, first wave feminism absolutely had its place. And I believe in pretty much everything that went through first wave feminism. You know, I don't think that a husband should be able to beat his wife. I think that women absolutely should be able to vote. We talk about equality, but what is the actual equality that you want? Is it the equality of outcome or the equality of opportunity? If it's the equality of outcome, that would be socialism. If it's the equality of opportunity, that's the way the world is supposed to be. Everybody should have an even playing field. The thing is, you got to get your butt out there and play and compete.
Right.
Okay. And so if everybody gets the same thing, then why in the world would anybody try? That's why I hate participation trophies. You know what I mean? You got to try. You got to do the work. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think that, you know, people just, society's gotten lazy, Kosher. Society's really gotten lazy.
Right. And they want quick results without putting in the work. And when you want quick results without putting in the work, you know, gold without fire never become pure gold. Human beings have to be purified through fire. And being purified through fire builds character. You know, Guapo, this is Sunday. The gospel talks about the lust of the flesh. And not to push religion, the gospel says that in John 2:16, for all in the world that the world desires is the pride of life, the lust of the eye, and the lust of the flesh. The lust of the flesh are those things that's part of the dark side of beauty, like sex, like satiating physical pleasures through hedonism. And, you know, we live in a culture now, man, that want everything fast because they don't want to more or less have self-discipline. There's another tenet theology that says that if a man lacks discipline, he'll bring himself to poverty and shame. I'm guilty of it. Like what's his name? Isaac Hayes say I stand accused. And so I stand accused because I've been a victim of the same things that I'm talking about, lest I be a hypocrite. But the lust of the flesh, many times, Guapo, we want we want our pleasure sensors satiated. And many times it's caused us to become victims. When you look at society compared to when you and I were kids growing up, would you say that hedonism has risen at an all-time high, in your opinion?
Yeah, man. Yeah. Listen, there a lot of times there's a dichotomy in life. Okay, so there's two sides to every coin, and things that have a seemingly good aspect have a bad aspect. So
Right.
I can't remember who was talking about it, but somebody was talking about adult material. Okay, prawn, if you know what I'm saying. As a kid, shoot, I'd have to go through, I'd have to sneak into the garage and, try to find my dad's stash and stuff like that. Or I'd be at my buddy's house and me and him would be going through the attic, and young boys, we'll figure it out. You know what I'm saying? But these kids got smartphones, iPhones now. We were looking for magazines with pictures. And now, you can get the most disgusting, raunchy stuff that you could ever imagine on your phone for free. There's no real firewall or protection out there. So do we live in a hedonistic society? Yeah. I mean, where did I say this kind of tongue in cheek, but where in the world did eating the booty like groceries come from? What the hell is that? Where'd that come from, bro?
That's nasty.
You know what I'm saying? It's crazy the way that the world is going, but it's the way that it's going.
Right.
And those of us that have some wherewithal to navigate need to grab the wheel and try to right the ship. And that's all we can do. And one thing I know is, Kosher, you aren't, and I'm not Jesus. We can't save everybody.
Can't save everybody, right?
I
totally agree, brother. I totally agree. And you think about something you and I talked about 2 shows ago. We talked about the pride of life. Getting credit for what others did, the aggrandizement of the ego and the aggrandizement of self, which is a manifestation of the lust of the flesh. That goes back to hedonism that's tied to the dark side of beauty, which is an illusion that turns to a delusion, and also is the beautiful lie. That beautiful lie is manifest many times, El Guapo, in these YouTube spaces where men and women tend to aggrandize themselves, thinking they're better than what they really are, only to become saboteurs of their own ignorance and only to fall on their faces because they exalted themselves above what they really were. When you think about that beautiful lie that many are telling themselves, do you think that's due to a lot of those parties having brokenness in their life, and they use it as a way to satiate their fragile ego, in your opinion?
Ask one more time. Did you say the beautiful lies that men or women tell themselves?
Well, both, as it relates to the lust of the pride of life. The pride of life means to make yourself better than what you really are. And I'm asking you, do you think that's due to a lot of brokenness from early or more or less formative years?
Yeah, it is. It is from a lot of brokenness, and all of this stuff, congeals together, and it's like the perfect storm of us moving towards disaster. And I don't mean to be all doom and gloom. I'm a very optimistic person.
Right.
But I feel like people have moved more towards being water, seeking the path of least resistance versus being the rock. You know what I mean? And water has its place. It has nourishment, and stuff like that. But I'll tell you like this, it also can erode, and water seeks the path of least resistance.
Right.
Where are the rocks in our community? Where are the people that are like, yo, I'm going to stand on this regardless of the outcome? We had it 50, 60 years ago.
We had it
with the civil rights movement. We had it. Who do we have now?
Right.
And so you have a platform. I have a platform. There are people that are trying to make a difference. But boy, listen, shout out to Tasha K when she talked about the machine. The machine didn't come after her, but the machine is real. The machine is definitely real. And what's really sad, I can't remember what movie this is, Kosher. I think it was Die Hard. It was Die Hard. The original Die Hard with Bruce Willis. You know how I know this? Because I watch it every Christmas. Because regardless of what anybody says, Die Hard is a Christmas movie. So I just watched it. And there's a point in the movie where Bruce Willis says to Hans Gruber, wait, you're doing this just for money? Yeah, that's what the machine is doing this for some money.
Right.
That's all it boils down to.
Right.
It is so stupid, but they're doing it for money.
They are.
You know what I'm saying?
They are, and that's part of the pride of life, and also the lust of the flesh, and also the lust of the eye. You talked about the ear gate. You know, we know that's a byproduct of theology. When you think about the ear gate that leads to the dark side of beauty and the beautiful lie, what does that mean to you in these contemporary times?
The ear gate. So I'm very protective of my eye gate and my ear gate. There is a wheel of, gosh, I should know this. My mentor would be really upset if I don't know this. There is a wheel of things that you need to pay attention to in your life that will actually start gearing you towards success. And one of them is inputs. And inputs is your most important, because inputs start to mold your thought process, which starts to mold your actions, which molds your habits. Okay. But you've got to be cautious of your inputs, and your ear gate and your eye gate are your most sensitive when it comes to that. Your ear gates, especially. I'm going to tell you something. I barely listen to music. I like music, but I barely listen to it because of the way that it goes, because it's such a passive thing that evokes such strong emotions. You know what I mean? So yeah, being careful of your ear gate, what news you watch and stuff like that. I won't watch the news. I will read the news because it's something active that I have to do. And when I want to disengage, I can do it immediately.
Right.
You know what I mean? But your ear gate is very crucial. I'm very cautious of the stuff I listen to on YouTube, man. And so protecting your ear gate and your eye gate is so imperative these days, because it's being assaulted. Why is it being assaulted? Because the powers that be realize that that is the way into changing your thought processes and then your actions, like buying stuff, and then habits, being dependent upon buying stuff, you know, having a spending habit, having a propensity towards debt versus saving or investing. You know what I'm saying? You know, and it's crazy. It's so crazy to me that it's all for money, but not all, but the vast majority of this is for money.
It is for money, man. And, you know, there's an old point in theology that the love of money is the beginning of all kinds of evil. It's the love of it. And so many do love money. And we do live in very decadent times to test the souls of men. And you're beginning to see so many people break. You're beginning to see so many people suffer within selves or suffer in their head. You know, you talk about the metaverse. The metaverse, in my opinion, is part of that beautiful lie. Right. There can be a dark side of beauty where we see the beauty of the metaverse, but also there are things in the metaverse that we think that are actually illusions, actually become delusions when we realize those things are not real. And so, you know, you see it, Guapo, you got girls like I got girls, and, you know, kids now are very socially awkward. You know, they don't know how to really have good conversations. They constantly looking down at their phones. They don't know how to advocate for themselves. And as part of that is due to their social conditioning, which in essence has more or less rendered them lacking of having so many social skills. You know, the bug virus or the beer virus did a lot, Guapo, to a lot of our women and our families, and also a lot of our men. Do you think this beer virus exacerbated mental distress in a lot of our men and women?
Absolutely, man. It has been, you know, a task to make sure that my children haven't become super socially awkward. You know what I mean? So, yeah, man, it's tough. Like, the beer bug has affected everybody, and that one we'll say is nobody's fault. You know what I'm saying? But what does that mean? That means that as parents, especially as fathers, we have to be hyper vigilant and make sure that we're filling those gaps as best we possibly can, you know, to make sure that we're doing the right thing, man, and make sure that our kids aren't socially awkward, you know. But once again, it's actually an opportunity. So it's how do you view it? I view it as an opportunity, to separate the wheat from the chaff. If I can keep my girls satisfactory, they're automatically going to be exemplary.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because they're doing what they need to do, man.
Well, listen, brother, I know you got to go, man. Thank you. I just wanted to more or less add you to this show because the things you talk about is so timely about beautiful lies. Now, so you know what? What Guapo was talking about, beautiful lies, is something that many people tell themselves that's led to the dark side of beauty. And, beautiful lies was so timely for the untimely death of Cheslie Kryst. And, hopefully many can learn from her lesson as it relates to unresolved mental illness, but also as the extreme urgency of now to not squander the times in your life related to your SMV when it's at its peak. Because so many women have squandered it, and some of it's due to negative social conditioning, where their mothers told them, focus on your career, get your education. And we're not against women getting their careers and education. But if you believe in family and you think family is important, family should be your priority first. Your career should be second. If you don't believe in family, then live your life on your own terms, do you. It's only if you believe in family and you believe in the power of family, because at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is family. So
and
thank
legacy.
you, brother.
Yeah.
And legacy. So thank you, Guap, man. I love you, brother.
Man, it has been an absolute pleasure. I appreciate you, Kosher. It is always so much fun, and I learn so much every time I converse with you, man.
No doubt,
so
brother.
thank you. Keep doing your thing. Yo, you are on the precipice of 3,000 subs. Watch, we're going to look up in April. It's going to be 6,000. Keep doing your thug thizzle, bro. Anything I can do to help you, let me know. Right. To your audience, to your supporters, thank you so much for coming in, tuning in. If anybody from Team Beautiful Eyes is in here, thank you for coming through and showing some love. I love y'all, and we'll see you real soon.
All right, brother. And do me a favor, man. Share it in the community tab, man. This is
man, I already did that. I already did that.
Thank you,
brother. Yeah,
I
did it before I jumped on, man.
Love and blessings, brother. Thank you again,
all right,
man. Enjoy your afternoon, brother. Salute.
All right. El Guapo out.
All right. Thank you, brother.
Peace.
All right. So once again, guys, this has been a very good show. And I'm going to drop the link, and I'm going to have you guys to come on and talk about the untimely demise of Cheslie Kryst. And I know you guys got to go to work, but I want you guys to call in and let's have a conversation because these shows are very important as mental health and mental wellness is something that's causing our community to be in a state of ill repair. Power, the dark side of beauty, something that so many of our women struggle with, but also many of our men, because beauty is not only the physical beauty of a woman, but it's the beauty of what we perceive to be life. And so we don't have the proper things in place to keep us aligned mentally in the proper direction. Like community, we can fall victims, guys. We can fall victims to our own ignorance. So guys, if you like what we're talking about, hit the like button, share the content. If you have not donated, donate to Cash App $7 Smalls. Please donate to Cash App $7 Smalls. If you don't have anything to share monetarily, please share the content. So once again, guys, let's have a conversation for these last few minutes. I know you guys got to go to work in the morning. Let's have a conversation because these conversations are very important. The dark side of beauty, the black swan, which is Cheslie Kryst, because her life could have been prevented if she had more or less people around her to support her and to help her become more well. Was she a victim of negative social conditioning? Was she a victim of what some call radical feminism? Was she a victim of the condition of society? Beautiful young woman. My heart goes out. My heart breaks for this beautiful woman. But so many women have been hoodwinked and sabotaged like Cheslie Kryst to the point that, they might be alive physically, but on the inside, they are imploding. And as I said earlier, a broken man is a hopeless man, and a hopeless man is a very dangerous man. This beautiful young woman was broken mentally and led to hopelessness, which in essence led to her untimely death. So let's have a conversation. Let's have a conversation talking about the dark side of beauty that actually lead to beautiful lies, because there are beautiful lies that many of you have told yourself about power, about fun, freedom, belonging, and survival. And while those 5 elements are a byproduct of choice theory, they can be good and positive if you use them in the right direction. But they can be very negative if you don't know how to use them. If you don't know how to use those elements, they can be very negative. So you have the good of power, fun, freedom, belonging, and survival. But there are some people that relate to survival say you got to get it how you live. You know, a lot of cats say get it how you live. So getting it how you live can sometimes be the dark side of beauty. Getting it how you live can be the beautiful lie because it can lead to incarceration. Sometimes the desire to belong as it relates to superseding your boundaries can be very negative. So many men and women want to be belonging of a circle. You want to be part of cliques. But if those cliques supersede what your boundaries are as men and women, that can be very negative, as it is the dark side of beauty and the beautiful lies that we tell ourselves. Having fun can be good, but if you want to have too much fun to the point that it gets you sick, or to give you tickets, or it makes you a baby mama or a man that more or less got women pregnant, that can be the dark side of beauty, which lead to the beautiful lie that you are invincible. And so many young people, many times, believe in the invincibility of their youth. And therefore, because of that, they commit crimes that they more or less struggle with in the future, because now they are victims of their own ignorance. So once again, guys, let's have a conversation before we shut this program down. This is a free-for-all. This is Sunday night. I know you guys got to go to work at some point, but let's have a conversation. The link has been dropped. Top Gun has dropped the link. Let's have a conversation. And let's talk about the beautiful lies that we tell ourselves. Let's talk about it. The link has been dropped. And let's talk about the beautiful lies that we tell ourselves. But in the meantime, I'm going to read through some of these comments. Ear gay, eye gay. Shout out to El Guapo, no doubt. Right. And shout out to Philip Williams, peace and blessings. Thank you, brother. But let's have a conversation, guys. The link has been dropped. I want to hear your points of views, men and women, because this woman is an icon of many women that are listening. Many are suffering in silence. Many women are more or less expecting to have love, protection, and provision, but they put their careers before the things that were more or less important, which was the power and the salubrity of having family and having community. So how would you guys like to add to Cheslie or Kryst? How many of you are dealing with mental illness or mental unwellness? How many of you have more or less uncovered so that you can recover to become the better version of yourself now? How many of you resonate with Cheslie or Kryst? How many of you guys resonate with her? Because some of you all probably have been dealing with unresolved functional depression as well. We talk about, once again, the fun stuff, but many times we don't talk about the things that matter the most, which is mental wellness. So let's have a conversation, guys. Let's have a conversation. And of course, the timely, sweet Lulu Bean. How you doing, sweetie? What's going on?
Hi, Kosha. How you doing?
How you doing, dear? How would you like to add to this conversation, sweet Lulu Bean, about Cheslie or Kryst and the beautiful lies that we tell ourselves about life, love, relationships, power, and freedom?
Kosha, it is such an important conversation. My heart is so heavy with what's happened, because this is, for me, I think you saw my comment earlier on when I had said that, I had thought it was enough to reach a goal, or if I get this degree, and if I make this much money, and if I do this, I'll be happy. And none of those things. I don't know how many majors I had. I don't know how many jobs I had, and just nothing. Nothing brought me happiness. In fact, it was just more pressure to find meaning. Mm-hmm. And it's not easy, even though I believe this, but it's hard when I tell my friends, because my friends are like, so much has changed. What's the difference? And when I tell them I got married, it's like, oh, is that all that happened? And it's like, yes, because I finally had a safe space to deal. My husband is a reflection of the worst. I always tell him is a reflection of the worst and best parts of me. Right. In that when I fall short, or when I'm dealing with something, he'll be the one, to point out and to take me, through it. And he'll also be the one to build me up and show me, the best parts of me. I suffer with a perfection complex.
Mm.
If I fail at something, it's hard to wake up the next day.
Right.
It's that difficult for me. And he had to sit down and he had to, who are you doing this for? Because it's not for me. I love you for who you are. And this is what I want for our family. This is where I need you to be. So whatever it is you need to do for yourself, it's all in your head. And you don't have anybody to please. You don't have to please your mother anymore. You don't have to please your family anymore. It's just me and you, and I'm here to make you happy as your husband. So tell me how I can make you happy. And then I realized that all the things that I thought I wanted, all the things that I thought would make me happy, don't. And my friends who are successful, who have the money, who have the big jobs back home, they're looking at me, wanting my life.
Mm.
And I used to look at them because when I came to America, I had to start from scratch. It was also difficult for me coming to America, leaving all that behind.
Right.
Because I thought, but I'd worked so hard for it,
Right.
And then my husband is like, okay, so this is where you are. So what are you going to do? You're going to keep getting a promotion until when? And who's this promotion for? You're waiting for some other person who's got their own plans in life to come and say, good job. And you're sitting on this desk doing what? And he was the one. And I remember one time I came out of work early. It was about 2:00. And I saw at 2:00, I was so shocked. I saw streams of cars leaving. And I'm like, who leaves at 2:00? We leave at 4. And it was just white women and Indian women and white men. And then I remember the next day, I was like, why is it we as, darkies? Why is it we as darkies? Why is it, we're here early and we leave late? Like, you never see these people. You never see whites on the floor. You never see Indians with us. And it was like, these people have families to get back to.
Right.
And then I'm like, we don't?
Right.
And that's what we're taught as Black women. We're taught that, I have to do this for my family. The reason I work so hard and the reason I'm not home is because I'm taking care of you guys. Mm-hmm. But it's your absence in the home is what's going to destroy us. My husband comes from a family where his mother worked hard all her life.
Right.
And she died alone and she died sick.
Wow. Wow.
And that job didn't do anything for her.
Wow.
And look at this beautiful, beautiful woman who, yes, she achieved a lot, but what does her degree mean now? Right. What does all the money that she made mean now? All we have are these photos, and this tragic life. And El Guapo was saying something earlier. I feel like I'm going on, Kosha. Like I said, my heart is so heavy, so please stop me anytime. But I'm thinking about the manosphere, and the manosphere has been trying to tell us as Black women how dysfunctional we are. And we can't hear that. I was watching El Guapo, and I've seen him when he's on Lepi's show, speaking to the K's of this world. And they really think that their education, look at the Tasha K's, look at, she's married, but look at where she is. The issues with the husband, her not listening to the husband having said, take it down, you're going too far. Women, we're constantly accusing Black men of not protecting us, but we have Kevin Samuels telling us we are dysfunctional, telling us that we have these emotional and mental issues, telling us that we're not confident, that we're arrogant and we're disrespectful, but we'll tell ourselves the K's of this world, the Cynthia G's of this world, instead of listening to what our Black men are trying to tell us. The manosphere has been trying to find ways to protect us from ourselves. And we're not listening. And like I said, we would rather listen to a Cardi B or a Megan Thee Stallion or look at a Sierra instead of sitting down and listening to a Kosha, listening to an old Guapo that is telling us that your material your education means nothing.
Right.
Because that's not what a man needs from you. And like I said, my education means it doesn't help me in my marriage. Money doesn't help me in my marriage because he makes the money and I'm working because I want to work, and he's going to start a business soon. So he's like, listen, sweetie, you need to wrap this up at some point. So what I did is, because he wants to go into logistics, I'm working for a logistics company right now, trying to get as much experience as I can. But everything I came into this relationship thinking that I needed, I don't need. That's not what's going to make my husband love me. That's not what's going to make me be respectful. If anything, it's that education that we have as Black women that makes us think we're better than our men.
Right.
So yeah, that's my piece. But yeah. Black women, we've got a lot of deprogramming to do, Kosha.
Right, well, we do, but the sad thing is, it appears that we tend to more or less aggrandize foolishness instead of more or less uplifting the things that are vital for our souls. Shout out to my man Richie Mack from Zoom to Thailand. He was on a Guapo show last night, and Richie Guapo was on the show earlier. And so to bring you up to speed, brother, we're actually talking about Richie, the dark side of beauty, and that's not more or less a byproduct of the physical beauty of a woman, but it's the dark side of beauty that lead us to beautiful lies. The things that we tell ourselves in relationships, finances, power, community, and all those things. And so it's more or less a combination of the beautiful lies that we tell ourselves based on the dark side of beauty. And once again, it's not always synonymous to just the physical aesthetics of a woman. And so to bring you up to speed, so it's a very good timely conversation because mental health has been minimized in our societies, in our community. James Turner, how would you like to add to this conversation about the untimely death of Cheslie Kryst and the dark lies that we tell ourselves and the beautiful side of evil? What would you like to add to the conversation, brother?
Hey, man, good evening to you. Good evening, Lula Bean, and good evening to the chat. To be perfectly honest with you, I don't know enough about Cheslie, but I tend to wonder if she invested in a mentor to kind of help her, through the tough times and stuff like that. I tend to wonder who she fell back on. Again, I don't know that much about her, about who she is and, some of the things that she's done. But I just wonder, it sounds to me that she really didn't have anybody, to stand in the gap for her. Rather it was abandonment issues, rather it was trust issues or whatever the case may be. I don't know enough about her on that, but my heart definitely goes out to her.
Right.
But to add to this as well, a couple of the dark side beauties that I suffer from, and this is, this is kind of an exclusive for me as well. One thing that I suffer from is running out of time. I don't know if we've ever talked about that or not. If because I'm not really a young man anymore. I'm 55 years old.
Yes, sir.
And even to this day, and it used to be in my earlier days as well. I suffered from, what would it be like, if I ran out of time? And I know that has a lot to do with just making sure that that I live a life that's meaningful, that's fruitful, that has purpose. And so that's one of the things that really caused me to really nab down and go to work and go to school and achieve hard, lots of education and stuff like that, and put myself into a different position and that kind of thing. And one thing that I found out about or discovered for myself about having a life that's worth talking about, and that is being able to also enjoy it. I think El Guapo talked about, or someone I've heard anyway, talked about enjoying the journey. It's not about the destination so much.
Right.
It's about the journey. It's about the ups and the downs that you're going to experience, um, with life and being able to embrace it. That's what El Guapo talked about, being able to lift 350 times, 350 pounds, 315 pounds worth of weight.
Right.
And he made the analogy that, if he didn't have the people in his corner to help train him or get himself ready, if when that weight of life would drop down on him, he could possibly drop that down and, on himself and possibly hurt himself. But if he trained his mind, and this is one thing that I have to continuously do. It's not just a one shot thing, to say, to myself, you are living a life of purpose. You are living, the way God wants you to live. You are doing what you're supposed to be doing. And I think that we don't really fully understand what it means to live in purpose. But I think that's a different discussion for a different time.
Right. Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
Yeah, and another thing, you asked a question about the delusion of power. I was silly enough to think, just looking back on this, I was silly enough to think that my level of education and then later on, financial would put me on the same uh, uh, playing field as the other Americans, my white counterparts and stuff like that.
Right.
Now the whole saying, what did they call a black man with an education? The answer to that question.
Yeah, he's dangerous.
No, the N word.
Okay.
And so that, even though I have these credentials, I won't say have these credentials, I achieved these goals and stuff like that. To other people, it really meant nothing. And then as I got, older and that kind of thing, I had to take another sharp look at myself and say, what does it really mean? In my case, it means nothing if I have, no one to share it with, no one to lead, to kind of build that, that legacy, that obituary, as El Guapo was saying. What do what do you want your obituary to read when you're no more? And I think about that a lot. And I've written down a lot of things, um, and I'm beginning to embrace the type of life that I want to live. Certainly, traveling is one thing, and shout out to Barry Hamilton and Top Gun, and everybody for traveling. That's definitely on the bucket list.
No doubt.
To go a lot of places. But again, that whole struggle with running out of time culture is something that I have to constantly deal with. Because again, you don't know when that time is gonna come or whatever. And I don't suspect that it's gonna happen soon, but again, nobody knows the time or the place or the hour. And so I have to make sure that I've done. Let me tell you something. Nothing else matters to me more than to please the man upstairs and him say to me, nobody else, him say to me, James, you've done a great job. You've done exactly what I told you to do in the way that I told you to do it. And you have blessed all of these people. And you know what? Come on home. And when he says that to me, I'm cool. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm not asking to come back here. That's real. I've seen enough. I've seen enough. I had enough the whole nine. So anyway, I'm starting to get like Lulu Bean. I'm rattling on. But anyway, that's all I wanted to say, bro.
Right.
Love
Lulu
you,
Bean,
James Turner.
I'm gonna ask you a question, Lulu, and then I want MC Recovery and Wellness to add to
Thank
the
you, Lulu Bean.
conversation. But you hail from the great country of South Africa. You know, family at one point was very important in our community. But you talk about the importance of family. If you didn't have your family, you would have been in shambles. Why do you think Western women minimize the importance of family, in your opinion?
Because the black man was removed. Somebody said something on the piece. I just wish I could say it exactly the way he said it. But he said something to the effect of, you know, black women need to stop blaming black men for all their perceived trauma. You know, black men were dehumanized, were less than human during slavery. Then they were turned into they became super predators, and now they're Pookies and Ray Rays. So at no stage in history has a black man ever been exalted. And so when you can't exalt the man and you can't see him as a spiritual head, and you don't see him, you don't see him, you know, for any other value except sex and money, whatever it is you can get from him, then what is his seed? Then what is family? You know, women need to be incentivized. I feel like you only care about a family when you care about the man. You can't have the family without the man. So that's the problem is with westernized women across the world, is until we learn the role of a man and we understand the nature of a man and we understand who we are as women, nothing will go right for us because we've taken the man out of place. We're out of cycle, we're out of nature. And the man needs to be put back in his place.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. And once again, you know, this beautiful young lady, life is over, and it's very sad. MC Recovery Wellness, how would you like to add to this conversation about mental wellness, the untimely death of the beautiful Cheslie Kryst, and the beautiful lies that we tell ourselves, which is a byproduct of the dark side of beauty? What are some of the things that you struggle with as a man? And what were some of the lies that you told yourself that could have been a condition similar to Miss Kryst, in your opinion?
Well, you know, one of the main lies I told myself, right in early recovery, is because I went in and out of the rooms of recovery 4 times. So the first 3 times I came in the rooms of recovery, and the main thing I was focused on was the outside appearance. So, you know, going to a meeting, dressing up, and then, you know, I would have these bouts like if I get enough jobs, or if I work for my father and have a job on the side, but I dress up in all of this stuff, like I go buy a gold chain, some gold rings, and I look the part of like I'm doing recovery. I'm just looking the part.
Right.
You know, I'm wearing the feelers, I'm wearing the Levi's, I'm wearing all the latest stuff. I'm making sure I come to the meeting clean. I just might have a Jerry curl or something. So, you know, dressing up that outside and then knowing in the inside that I feel the opposite of the way I look on the outside.
Why do you think we mask mental illness so much, MC Recovery and Wellness? Why do you think we mask it so much, and why do we minimize the things that we're dealing with, in your opinion?
Oh, well, why we put up the facade?
Yes, sir.
So it's like before social media, the facade was like trying to win the position of being the most popular, or you know, being the most outgoing, or you know, the most funniest, or the most courageous. So you know, see, I have a funny story. Me and my friends were so goofy. Well, we wasn't goofy. We ran around back in the day and gave people awards for the type of way we viewed them. We just rolled up some paper, went and gave some people different awards, like the most courageous, the most finest, the most big butt, and stuff like this, clowning. But it's a facade because it looked like a lot of us got many faces.
Right.
Because as growing up, I used to have to wear, probably within the week of just going to high school, I used to have to wear about 2 or 3 different masks. Like I got the high school mask, then I got the neighborhood mask, and then I have to be a son when I get home mask.
Right.
So it's different. Or if I'm working with my father, and then should I never felt like I had to put on the mask around him.
Yeah. It's really unfortunate, the beautiful lies that we tell ourselves in the dark side of beauty as it relates to power, fun, freedom, survival, and belonging. I'm going to ask Sweet Lulu Bean this question, and we're going to sign off in a few minutes. Now, thank you to the 61 guys that are watching. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you for everything that you do. We all often talk about salaciousness, but we many times don't address the unconscious pathologies of mental wellness. And so, it took me a long time to put this show together. It took hours. And so, I wanted to make sure I gave you guys a great show and more or less talk about the things that we're dealing with, sadly, the untimely death of Cheslie Kryst. And so, as I said earlier, power, fun, freedom, survival, and belonging can be good, but they can also be the dark side of beauty when they're not used in its proper locations or domains. When you think about belonging, Sweet Lulu Bean, is there a yearning to belong for many men and women in society today because they're being neglected, in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, with the breakdown of families, the families, the problem is that there's a yearning for fathers. You can't hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead, dear.
I was saying that with the breakdown of families, there is a yearning of belonging. There is a yearning for the family unit, and it's again goes back to the removal of the father. If you have Black women leaving Black men, divorcing Black men, walking away from Black men, how are you going to create this family? So yes, there is a yearning. There is a big need. Whenever I get together with my, in these gatherings with my American friends, it's like, oh, how they'll ask you about family, and when I tell them, some of the culture, and how things work, everything goes back to the family. But it is a kind of a double-edged sword in that, like I said, there is a lot of pressure, kosher,
right,
to succeed. There's a whole lot of pressure to be married. There's a whole lot of pressure to do it right. You know what I mean? So yeah, like, I don't know, maybe being this side, it's a good pressure if you know how to get it right, but yeah.
When you heard about this young lady's death, what was the first thing that popped in your head, Sweet Lulu Bean?
Like I said before, all of the things that we as women, I'm not saying that education is not important. We need women scientists. We need women doctors. The Black community needs academia very, very badly. I'm not saying that. What I'm trying to say is that what we're striving for in terms of money and material should not negate the need to have a man in the house. Should not negate, there shouldn't be anything in seeing yourself as complete, as needing a man, because we do. I know that I've been in a lot of dark places where, like I said, I don't know where I would be without my husband. Women like saying here that, you know, you have to raise a man. And I found it's actually the other way around. I really feel like I went from my father's house into my husband's house. And I feel like he's had to raise me too, and he's had to change my perspective. And a lot of the femininity and my role, I wouldn't be able to be a full woman without him being a full man. You can't be you know, women are always constantly talking about feminism, but here it's like it's addressing, it's on the outside. It's more than the way you talk. It's more than what you wear. It's your attitude to family. It is understanding, like I say, what a man is spiritually, and what he stands for in this physical world. And that's what I think women in the West don't have, is we don't know what men are. We need to go back to school to learn the nature of a man. You know, where I come from, you still have virginity testing because you're taught that your chastity is a gift. Don't have too many partners.
Right.
So that you know, because here you hear women saying, you know, so and so doesn't satisfy me, and it's like, well, you've had a lot of sexual experiences. You're comparing this man who's maybe number 8 in your roster to how many men? So you come in, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am.
Women come into relationships with a lot of trauma because of the men that they have, because of all of this choice of men that they have been with.
Yes, ma'am.
Whereas
I agree.
culture lessens that. Like I said, you're pressurized to come in and be a virgin. You come with less baggage, less trauma coming into a relationship. A guy makes you pregnant. I've told you about damages. You've got to go home. In order for us to be able to say this child is yours, or to even recognize you as a man, you've got to come, bring your family, and we have to sit down and you have to rectify the situation. So a lot of the freedoms that we as women have are what is bringing us the trauma. The Pookies and Ray Rays, we as women are going out and choosing those men because we don't know how to choose a good man. And like I said, and that's something we have to be taught. Ask a Black woman what she wants. She doesn't talk to you about the character of a man. She doesn't talk about what she needs from it. Oh, I want him to go to church. Okay, you want him to go to church, but what do you want him to believe in? You know, how do you want him to emulate God? How do you want him? Where I come from, it's the man that reads from the Bible. It's the man that reads the prayer. It's the man that lets us know what the lesson from the Bible is for today. You know, what are we going into this week being grateful for?
Right.
You get what I'm trying to say? So you have a preacher in the house. So that's what I'm saying, that here I don't think women understand what the role of a man is. But you're going to complain about this Black man bringing you this trauma when it's you, and it's your independence, and it's your bubblegum feminism.
That's very powerful, but also very important, and that's why these conversations are important, because we have a community of accountability where we put the importance on family and virtue, and not more or less minimizing careers. I think you'll have a lot more happier women. I've said in the past that a woman is at her best when she's adequately serving her husband and when she's serving her family and her community. But now it's been more or less under the umbrella of ignorance that serving a man makes you a slave. And what most women don't understand is if you serve a man on the front end, he'll get you on the back end. Men by nature are more or less conditioned to give and to be and to do. And I think a lot of our women have been saboteurs of their own ignorance, to say the least. I'm James Turner real quick, and then I'm going to go back to MC Wellness and Recovery. And if anyone else would like to pop on and add to this discussion as relates to mental wellness and the untimely death of Cheslie Kryst, feel free to add to the conversation. But when we talk about
Kosha, especially Charlie Brown, I'm trying to understand where Charlie Brown is coming from. It would be nice if Charlie Brown could come on here and just, I don't know if you see that comment, just so that he can expound on it.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Yeah, Charlie Brown, feel free to come on, brother. I would love to hear your position. If you do come on Cam Up, I know James Turner, so I know him personally, so I'm not tripping on him. But Charlie Brown, I would love to hear your point of view, brother. You seem like you got some good points, and feel free to cam up and add to the discussion. about mental wellness and also the illusion of power and the dark side of beauty that lead to beautiful lives. But was there anything relevant that Guapo said, MC Wellness and Recovery, that stuck out to you the most when you were listening to him about this Cheslie Kryst show? And we're going to sign off in a few minutes. I'm deaf.
Well, what Guapo said was when he mentioned something about the eulogy letter. That was rather impressive. Impressive is because I usually ponder with the thought because I'm a photographer, right?
Yes, sir.
And so my stepfather and my mom is still living. So what I've been trying to do is make sure I keep people photographs in order and stuff. And then sometimes I ponder about like what is the eulogy is going to be for them. But after he said that, and every now and then I think about what is the eulogy of my life is going to be. So that really touched me. And it was a couple of other things that he mentioned too about Kevin Samuels and Kevin Samuels, meaning about that panic that goes on when they get around 30. So with family members in my life, I've been getting a couple of phone calls, and some people was upset, some people was looking at it, but it's real serious, and it's funny on how women in general will look at the career more than the importance of a career being more important than a man.
Right.
So,
Case in point. Case in point, which I think has caused a lot of
and
sadness.
family.
Right. James Turner, real quick, anything else you want to add to the conversation about the untimely death of Cheslie Kryst and the illusion of power and power versus purpose? And Charlie Brown, if you want to come on, brother, feel free to come on. Thank you, sir. Right.
Yeah, Coach. In opposition, again, Ms. Lulu, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't see women, and I see less women and more men wanting that sense of belonging. I see more women wanting to be independent, and I think that it's not so much that they want to be separated, but I think it's more about the fact that they want to be identified, that they want to be heard. And I think that they're going about it the wrong way in reference to them wanting to be heard. What I mean by that is they're being told, I guess, so many things based upon what I've been studying. They hear one thing from their mother. They hear another thing from some of the men in their life, whether it might be their brothers, sisters, even their husbands and stuff like that. And I think that what they're so busy doing is trying to find their own way and go about doing it alone, or at least, with people that feel like they're going in that same direction. But what they're not realizing is there's a reason why, the Adam and Eve stories in Genesis in the beginning. And and what that tells me is that family has got to be first. Right. Well, not even that. God has to be first, but the family has to be primary. It has to be first, because what a lot of ladies have to understand is that without that foundation, without knowing how to navigate in your own home, where you're acting, in the role of a lady, in the role of a wife, in the role of a woman, you're not going to know how to do it effectively, outside of, anywhere else. You're not going to be a good business person. You're not going to be someone who's a helper. You're not going to be able to go into to any type of industry with the right intentions and the right mindset until you get that family first. So I'm, and maybe this is the beautiful lie that I'm hearing, Kosher. The fact that what I'm hearing, that women don't want to be belong to somebody. They want to be individual and say, hey, this is me, this is what I want to do, this is how I want to live, and so forth and so on. That's just kind of my take on it.
Right. A little bit, I'm going to ask you a quick question, and anyone else want to sign on, the link is at the bottom. If not, we're going to sign off. This has been a very good show. When you think about South Africa, do you think South Africans have the level of mental illness that you see here in America, or do you think you don't see it as much?
Sometimes I wonder. I know that.
And Philip, cam up too, brother. I don't know you, so if you don't mind camming up, Philip, I appreciate it. You could do it in the background. I'll drop you down, Philip. Cam up so I can see you, and then I'll bring you on, Philip, okay? Thank you, Philip. Go ahead.
Kosher, I just remember growing up, when you would mention things like you feel depressed, my mother would be like, do not bring those white evil spirits into this house. You're either happy, you're sad, but there is a reason. So no, mental illness, it's seen as a Western concept. It's like, listen, you are Black, you have Black struggles, your depression will fix itself along the way, but do what you have to do. This is life. So it's like it's part of the struggle. And then a lot of times mental illness was seen more of like a spiritual illness. Right. It's something that you would have to speak to the ancestors, and you'd have to ask the ancestors to intercede on your behalf.
Right.
So it's not like here where it is a science. It's there. It's something that it's dismissed.
Well, yeah, and that's sad because, many times the Black church is dismissed sometimes. We say, leave it to God or Jesus will fix it. And while God is a part of spiritual wellness, mental illness is real because there's a science to it. And there also is a level of spirituality that's associated with it as well. So we can't minimize the importance of either because both play its proper role when it's properly allocated. So these conversations are very important. Hold tight, sweetie. Philip Williams, do me a favor, brother. I want to bring you on, but there you go, Philip. Thank you, brother. Thank you, Philip. How you doing, sir? And how would you like to add to the conversation, brother? How you doing, Philip?
I'm good this evening. I want to say good evening to everybody, brothers, the sisters, the viewers. This is a very important topic that we need to discuss. I know that the brother was talking about before, he made a comment saying that over 70 years, we as a people have been having these conversations, and it seems that nothing really is happening. Let me just say to that young man, nothing shall be televised. It is a truth in that. When things hit social media, they are already in effect, right? So that being the case, unfortunately, this young lady, I cannot say that she didn't have the help required or didn't have an ear to, to spill onto a sounding board. But unfortunately, this society puts pressure, like the sister said, on us in so many different ways that it can really drive you, a little batty. Let me just say that. Yes, and it's just really unfortunate that anyone would want to end themselves.
Right.
When life is so precious in itself. Right. Being alive, period. Regardless to your financial situation, regardless to your relationships that you have with friends, family, or others, it's still a life to live. The mental health part of this is systemic because it is part of the society itself. It's kind of like a cancer in your body. Even though that you're still living, the cancer is slowly eating you alive. you know, and this society makes it where people literally eat themselves alive, you know, trying to live up to the standards of society, or either trying to live up to the standards of other people put on them, you know, or even, forgive me, even when you was a child and what your parents told you. You know, unfortunately, some of the teachings that parents have given their kids wasn't 100% functional in the real world.
Right. Like explain. What do you mean by that, brother? Explain.
I was raised by a mother. So my mother always told me to be polite to women, to have respect for women, you know, hold the door for women, things of that nature.
Right.
But as a woman goes, she had no inclination or knowledge of how to teach me the basis of man's foundation in order to be a sound, quiet. You see, men have a quiet strength. You know, we don't talk too much because we don't want to deal with a lot of nonsense that goes on in life.
Right.
But when we do speak, it has meaning because we have foresight. We could see 5-10 years into the future.
Right.
Where people, especially unfortunately women, don't perceive that as being a real quality or something that a man actually had.
Right.
You know, because if it's not tangible, if it's not something they can put in their pocket or actually see and put it on the wall like a degree, then it doesn't count.
Right.
Preach.
Right. And what you're talking about, Philip Williams, what you're talking about actually is something called provision. Provision means he can see in the future. He can see in the future. He can see the things that they can't see because many times men have a strong peripheral vision. We can see the things because that's a gift that God gives men. Just like women have the gift of nature and they have a level of intuitiveness as it relates to sensitivity and the surroundings. But many times men, because of their linear thinking, tend to see things far ahead. That's why it's called provision, to see in the future. And something what your mom did, she did it by mistake, and she's a slave of her biology. She taught you to compromise power as it relates to thinking like women instead of demanding power. A strong masculine man, Philip Williams, would have taught you to demand power as it relates to relationships because women only respect power and strength. So your mom taught you how to think like a woman based on the feminine hard drive. But a masculine man would have told you, boy, if she don't respect you, you get rid of her or you don't entertain her. And that's the difference that we don't have in our society now. We don't have black men and men in general that stand firm in their masculinity and stand firm in what they believe in as it relates to empowerment. Women only respect power and strength. That's why women are wired to look up to taller men. There's something that's in their hard drive. They like taller men, you know, just like men are wired to like corpulent hips, you know, nice breasts, you know, and all of that. We're just wired for it. Let me read this super chat out real quick. Shout out to CGLA for that $15 super sticker. And CGLA said, did you guys hear that? Hold tight. Shout out to that brother for a $15 super sticker. He said that DeVille, he said that W. Du Bois spoke of how blacks had to present themselves to white folks. Now we do it to society because people can be very brutal. You're right. They can be very brutal. And they can be very brutal many times because we don't have community anymore. Community has dissipated greatly. At one time, James Turner and also MC Recovery Wellness, you and I, Gen Xers, we remember the vibrancy of having community. But now because of isolation, because of technology, many people have got caught up in their own heads. And as I talked about earlier, many are living in a virtual reality called the metaverse. And many times that metaverse is actually a byproduct of the dark side of beauty, which has led to beautiful lies. How would you guys like to add on that, especially James Turner being a mathematician?
Oh boy. Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with that. You know, when I was coming up a little early in life, you had to go out, you had to socialize with people, men and women. You had to go out there and make sure, that, you presented yourself. I remember, going out, that was an event and you dressed up, you put on your Stacy's or whatever shoes you like wearing. And in some cases, you even have to wear a suit. You go out and, you smelling good, you looking good, and you feeling good about yourself, and you present yourself to that woman or vice versa. That woman present herself to that man. And you had to get out there and see what's happening. Be straightforward, say exactly what you want, stand on it and mean it. where now, you could stand behind a camera and whatnot and be Superman if you choose. You can be something entirely different than what you are.
Exactly.
But when you come, but back in my day, Dag, I thought I'd never say that, I swear. But you had to come with it, and you had to be real. Women saw exactly who you were, and you saw who they were.
Right.
So yeah.
Right. I totally agree. MC Recovery Wellness and Program, we talked about the power of community in the past. Do you feel like the current community is actually eroding as we speak? Or the past communities is eroding?
Well, like that show that you was on with Suzette and them, and I was thinking about the community because when I look at my son and a lot of them and take them back to the old neighborhood, what I see now right in the millenniums, when they was born, these stores was all operated by blacks. The laundromat was owned by blacks. Most of the blocks was all blacks, and then in their mind, I imagine that they don't see no hope of having community come back or picking up. So the thing on community is that I really wish a lot of people would come back to the community or either make a better community. Start back opening up the first of all, bring family. Just like Jonathan Banville said on one of his shows, when you lay, that it should be like consequences. That you will have to stay with that woman and be responsible. So hopefully the thing about community is that it's possible for everything to come back and get back in alignment, because I seen the data right in Los Angeles County of we had black supermarkets, they're gone. I believe in the United States there's only one black supermarket.
Right. Well, I don't see it happening in our lifetime. I think it's going to take generations to uncover what we've already dealt with as it relates to negativity. No doubt. To the young man, Mr. Albert, how would you like to answer this discussion, brother, as it relates to the dark side of beauty, relating to the untimely death of Cheslie Kryst? And Cheslie Kryst is a millennial. And I don't want to cast any aspersions on millennials because, millennials have their own issues, like Gen Xers had their own issues. But some say that Gen Xers and Zennials are very weak. And what's your take on that? What's you guys' take on resilience as it relates to the newer generation?
I think that was me.
Okay.
I turned it off.
Okay. LTR, how you doing, sir?
Hold on. Let me try it again.
Okay. All right.
Keep going, y'all. Keep going.
Yeah, LTR, LC and
I gotta come back. I got to come back.
Okay, all right. LTR, how would you like to answer this discussion, man? Can you hear me, brother? LTR, how you doing, sir? Can you hear me? Can you hear me, LTR? You, brother, with the mic, with the headphones on. Can you hear me? LTR. Can you hear me, LTR?
Oh, yeah. How you doing? Can you hear me?
How you
can
doing,
you
sir?
hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
How would you like? Yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm messing around with it, trying to get it turned on. And you spoke to me before I got it hooked up.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, I'm good. Okay.
How would you like to add to the conversation about?
Can you hear me now?
The untimely. Yes, sir. I can hear you. How would you like to add to the untimely death of Cheslie Kryst, brother? How would you like to add to the conversation?
It's just one of those. It's one of those situations where just because a person look a certain way doesn't mean that they are experiencing life the way they planned. You understand what I'm saying? Like it seemed that a person that looks like her would have it all together, but there's probably situations going on that's beyond her control that we necessarily can't see. But because we're captivated by how beautiful she looks, we think that she has it all together mentally. But to some degree, most of us still need support in areas, and most of the time, most people don't care about what's important to you. And when you're not receiving the because there's a difference between what you actually need and what people think you need. And when your needs are not being addressed appropriately in a way that's beneficial to you as a person, with people actually having a detailed understanding of what it is that you actually need and not what they think you need, you kind of miss the mark with people. You know what I'm saying? Because we make assumptions just based on how people look. You know what I'm saying? Not knowing that mental health is a deeper concept than just how a person looks on the outside, the exterior.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We never know what a person is thinking, and we never know, how a person is managing stress. So sometimes it will behoove you to be, how like sometimes, we might be busy or caught up in our daily routine. We don't have enough foresight to just speak to somebody, speak to the person and just say, hey, how you doing today? You okay? And just, you understand what I'm saying? Acknowledge their presence or whatever the case may be. We too busy or caught up in what we're doing. But for some people, especially people that experience depression, they might have needed that. They might have needed that little jolt of positivity. You understand what I'm saying? But like I said, sometimes there's just a gap in, like I said, what people think you need and what you actually need as a human being to like be well within inside of your own being. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So with that being said, I kind of heard you segue in a little bit into like where sometimes millenniums are a little bit weaker because of but I think that's because like life has changed. Life is, like it wasn't like it was for us who grew up in the 80s and 90s and so on and so forth. Life has changed. Life has gotten a little bit better. And within that, they kind of miss those important lessons that you learned in the grind or in the grit. Like when you had to grind certain things out, or there were certain things that we experienced because of, poverty and the struggle that they don't necessarily have now because life is better for them. I mean, we've learned, things have gotten better. Some of the fights that the people who preceded us has made life a little easier. So with that being said, that's kind of like, you know what I mean? Like, I guess like you could say, that's kind of like, I guess one of those natural consequences to not having to actually figure things out yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think I see your point.
Things are done for us now.
Right. Technology has made us softer. You don't have to have as much critical thinking as people of the past. LCN, go ahead, brother. I normally ask people to cam up, but go ahead. I always like to answer the conversation, brother.
Well, just to make things clear, I'm a 20-year-old. I'm a young 20-year-old, so I think I'm the youngest here.
Yes, sir.
So personally, when it comes down to this, it really boils down to, it just shows you that having money without a peace of mind means nothing.
Right.
You know what I mean? And a lot of these celebrities, and this is just a perfect example of it, it's like a Bible scripture that really resonates with this, is like, what profiteth a man if he gaineth the whole world but loses his soul? What you gain from having all these things, but you don't have a peace of mind.
Yes.
And a lot of these celebrities are being tormented and, this idea of keeping up. And a lot of women, especially with all the mental issues, and a lot of these girls nowadays are alcoholics. And they're so caught up with competing with men and trying to be with men that they start to, like, they're so caught up in trying to be this masculine person that they forget their femininity. And then they get to a point where they have all these things and all these earthly riches and stuff that when it comes on to dating, in a way, it becomes more difficult, because especially with feminism, that has really brainwashed a lot of women in believing that they're just like men. So they're trying to compete with men so much, be like men. So when it comes on to other aspects of embracing their femininity, they neglect it. And so now it's hard for them to date. And you hear a lot of women talking about, and I know y'all have heard this before, it's like, I don't know why it's so hard for me to date anyone. I have my own career. I have my own money. I have my own house. I provide. And you're like, you're speaking like a man. It may be if you're dealing with a man who's a homosexual who just wants to live off you, but any self-respecting man who has his stuff together doesn't care about that. And so because women are, a lot of these women maybe like her, were so caught up in competing that they disregarded the feminine aspects of themselves, which then it's like their riches became their captivity.
Right. Shout out to my man Chris, the young crab. Chris, you want to pop on for a minute to add to the conversations? Please do. We're gonna sign off in a minute. Philip Williams, you appear to be a millennial too. Are you a millennial or are you a Gen Xer, Philip?
66, baby.
You 66?
56.
56 or 66?
66, baby.
Oh, you don't look it, man.
Thank you very much.
Gen X all day.
Yeah,
welcome, brother.
You look good for your age,
Thank you very much. That comes from not having a stressful life. As much as the values that I might not have got as man teaching from my mother, she did instill with me very good values and morals that are beyond what society preaches and teaches our youth nowadays. My brother, you said that you're 20 years old. God bless you. You have an incredible foresight for your age. I like the brother said a second ago, I wouldn't think I'd be saying that to somebody else. You know what I mean? Because I remember when, my elders said that to me and told me when I get to that prestige age, all the things that were told to me by my elders and mentors and people that I respected that gave me good energy and good input, I recall and implement into life. As you get older, you will see the difference between what you were taught, what society teach you, and what you know to be right.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Right. And that's why these conversations are so important, Philip, and to the young men on the panel, because many people are suffering from mental illness, and we need to have these conversations because many wear masks that are a byproduct of the beautiful lies that we tell ourselves, which in essence is a dark side of beauty. I'm going to sign off in a minute, man. This has been a great show. I'm really grateful for all the people on the panel. You guys have added a lot of wisdom to the conversation, but starting with my dear friend, Sweet Lulu Bean, I actually was thinking about you. There are some young men that are doing very well, and I told them if they ever decide to go to your country, they got some beautiful women in your country if they're looking for wives, if they can't find their wife here. What did you get out of this conversation in less than 2 minutes, and how is this conversation relevant to you as a woman? Real quick, less than 2 minutes.
It's really going to be the same thing for me. Like I said, Kosha, that there's a lot of things that we as women find important, and we need to just figure out a way to balance those so that we're still in tune with Black men. That's about it. Okay, all right, hold tight. James Turner, how would you like to add to this conversation? Less than 2 minutes, brother. We're going to sign off. Go ahead.
Yeah, really quickly. So the one thing that comes to my mind is that you cannot judge a book by its cover. Just because, the hair is done, the makeup is on, and, dressing nicely and all that kind of stuff, you still can never tell what someone else is going through. And, we have to all become sensitive to that because we all got stuff to deal with. So I think that's all I need to add to that.
All right. Hold tight. Where's okay, MC Recovery. How would you like to add less than 2 minutes, brother? What would you like to add to the conversation? Less than 2 minutes.
Well, I would like to add for like I told people at work and some of my friends, like if I tell you that I'm not having a good day because should I figure out a way to let a person know, like if I'm saying I'm not having a real good day, let me explain to you or try to make a connection. But now they got to the place to where, I be just trying to find just about anybody, even a person that's panhandling. And then sometimes I had a panhandler I gave so much money to, he gave me some money. It stunned me. So, it just stunned me. It was like, oh, shit, he said, that's okay. I just wanted a certain amount. So,
Right.
So I'll behoove anybody just go to individual, because I told somebody that me and my son was homeless, and then I told another story about how bad something was going to my life to someone that I thought that was living better than me. And when they told me theirs, it made mine look like what I'm complaining about.
Right.
You know.
Right. Okay, no doubt. Appreciate it, brother. My man LCN, LTR, what would you like to add, brother, as we're about to close this show out to the discussion, brother, real quick? Go ahead.
Like the other brother said, you know what I mean? Like, and at some point we have to mature to the point that we stop assuming that we know what's going on with people and ask questions, just, check in on people to see if, you know what I mean, they doing all right. And if there's anything that you can do to, assist them and help them in detailed ways that make, that show that you are listening and you actually care about them, so that they can have, those little memories that somebody does care, somebody in those tough times, somebody does care, somebody did have my back. Let me see if I can call that person and just have a conversation with them. They might can say something to make me feel better. You know what I mean? So let's not assume that we know that people are okay, and ask questions and check in on people from time to time.
No doubt. Thank you, brother. Thank you, sir. All right. My man, Philip Williams, real quick, brother, how would you like to add the last 2 minutes to the conversation? Go ahead, brother.
I would just like to say, LTR, you're exactly right. Mental health is a very understated, underrated problem in the Black community and Black people as a whole. We have been in a society where we've been defamed on so many different levels that even if it doesn't come from a family member, you deal with it every day, regardless to if you're man or woman, right? So mental health has to stem from self-introspect, to listen to your inner voice, and most importantly, do not let your mind become its own minefield. Now, let me elaborate. You might have a good thought in your mind, but it's immediately you might say, oh, but what about? And already that process, that power of words negated any positive thought that you had before that. Mental health is the affirmation of you continuously improving not only your vocabulary, but your language to yourself, your own conversations that you have with oneself. And if you have conversations that are detrimental to yourself, then you should go seek help from a relative, a mentor, or if you have the money and you can, to actually look up a professional like TKC. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it for the conversation. How did you find out about the channel, brother?
You know how I found out about the channel, man. You really want me to tell you? I found out through Crimson Cure, the Black Manosphere, Chantel Simone. You know I was on there when you had Chantel on.
That's right. I forgot.
I follow certain good content creators that are about a message that is going to alleviate and heal people. Because as I watch these content creators, it heals me. And the parts that are already healed, it just affirms that I'm on the right path. So I found out through your channel, through several other good content creators. And once I got on your channel, and like last time you let me get on, and I was very honored and privileged about that. But I actually didn't do any research on you, but just you speaking your profession and your age and the way you present yourself, you remind me of my mentor. So in that essence, I go with energy. I don't go with the people. I go with energy. If your energy is good and it's something that I can absorb and build myself to be a better person, like LTR said, every day, then that's what I'm going to do. See, in this society, sorry about the over 2 minutes, but in this society, you got to take the good and get rid of what doesn't work for you. Not to say that something that you don't agree with, you get rid of because you don't agree with it. If it's a truth, it's a truth. And unfortunately, our people nowadays have it where the truth, if they don't want to hear it, they defame it. Or as the terminology for men would say, emasculate it. to make it where it's so minuscule that anybody that presents it is rhetoric.
No doubt, no doubt. I appreciate that, brother. I really appreciate that.
I appreciate you.
No doubt. LCN, brother, in less than 2 minutes, brother. How would you like to add to the conversation? Go ahead, brother.
Well, to really add on the conversation, there's more than meets the eye. And what we could really learn from this is that some of the prettiest women are some of the most insecure women on the inside. We also believe that sometimes we could look at somebody and think they have it all together, but there's this Japanese proverb. It's like we have three faces: the one that we show our friends, the one that we show our family, and the one that we show ourselves. So we can never truly know what someone is going through from just the looks of them, and not just assuming that because they have it all, they're all good. And like I said with the Bible, what profit the man he gaineth the whole world but loses his soul? Money doesn't mean anything if you lost your mind. And a lot of these celebrities show that, because you could have the whole world, but for some reason you're missing something, and that's your peace of mind.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it's
right.
great to always keep your integrity when you have the money, because at the end of the day, you can't take the money with you when you go. And unfortunately, that woman, when she committed what she did, that money, the fame, all of that, where is it? Where is it? And where is she? You know what I'm saying? So that's one thing we can learn. Don't be so quick to compare yourself, believing that because this person on social media is fake. Social media is like a movie trailer. They only show you the good parts. So don't be so quick to look at a celebrity and go, oh, why am I not at the same level as they are at that age? Like, you don't know what they did. You know what I mean? Some of those people, they compromise what they did. Some of your favorite IG models, the things that they be doing to get to where they at, if some of these girls were to see what their favorite IG model has done, they'd rethink their role models. So a lot of us need to sometimes take a step back and realize that social media is fake. It's an image. You can be anybody you want on social media. 2K, social media is like social media for women is like what 2K is for guys. You have a 2K My Player, you can make something up and put them out of who your desire. That's the same thing with social media. So we just got to take that into consideration, and also get off of social media while take care of our mental health, really self-reflect, self-actualize, and really take the time to know ourselves and keep the Most High first in everything that we do.
No doubt, no doubt. I agree, and thank you, brother. Shout out to my dear friend Suzette Speaks. How are you doing, Suzette? And we're going to sign off in a minute, but once again, this show is talking about the dark side of beauty and the beautiful lies that we tell ourselves. I'm going to sign off, guys. I'm going to remove you guys up down. Guys, thank you. I really appreciate it. But hold tight. I'm going to remove you guys off. I'm adding you guys back to the stream. Hold on. Well, I told you guys that, there are 7 steps that a man must go do in order to become optimized, and understanding family, relationships, and society is very critical and crucial to the evolution of a nation. This young, beautiful woman, I can't think of her name, once again, Cheslie Kryst, a beautiful lawyer from the state of North Carolina. She went to Wake Forest, and I think she got a Juris Doctorate, I believe, from either South Carolina or Wake Forest. And she was dealing with functional depression that led to her untimely demise. But as I said earlier, she said something that resonates with so many other women, that she hit a time clock, and she said as she began to reach 30, she felt like her relevance was beginning to dissipate. And I think that's the beautiful lie of feminism that's lied to our women, as I said earlier. And also it's the beautiful lie and the dark side of beauty as relates to power. At the end of the day, the most important thing to you will be your family. And I'm actually dealing with a family member now that's terminal, and I don't know how much longer she got. And so this show really sticks out, but also this show resonates a lot to me as well, because my sister is terminal as we speak. So this has been a good show, guys. We're going to sign off. I love you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Please share the content. These shows are very time consuming. And once again, guys, as I've said before in the past, as we're about to sign off, if it ain't 7, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, it ain't right. Signing off.
call it off, let it go, all for nothing. I should have known. I've made mistakes, crashed and burned, so many chances, no time to learn. I need to find another way to make things right. I won't be coming back again a second time. Can't take it back, everything you've done. You know youth is wasted on the young. We still don't know where we belong. Time will tell us where we went wrong. You know youth is wasted on the young. On the young. Setting off, time to go. Engines running, we're on our own. Running on an endless road, reaching for something we used to know. If I had another chance, I'd make things right. I see the light behind your eyes is fading now. Can't take it back, everything you've done. You know youth is wasted on the young. We still don't know where we belong. Time will tell us where we went wrong. You know youth is wasted on the young. On the young. On the young. You can't take it back, everything you've done. You know youth is wasted on the young. Still don't know where we belong. Time will tell us where we went wrong. You know youth is wasted on the young. On the young is wasted. On the young. Youth is wasted. On the young. Youth is wasted. On the young. Youth is wasted. On the young.
I've been pushing away everybody I love. I don't know what to do, need a sign from above. I just want to be somebody who knows how to behave, but I'm not even close. Won't you save, 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 save me? Won't you save, 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 save me? I am out here alone, 'cause there's nobody left. I need someone to talk to, get this pain on my chest. All the bad things I've done and the people I've hurt. Wanna take that part of me and leave it in the dirt. Won't you save, 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 save me? Won't you save, 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 save me? Won't you save, 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 save me? Oh, save me, save, save me. Oh, I've been trapped in this darkness for far too long now. Wanna tear down the curtains, let the sun shine in. Oh, I've been seeking forgiveness, 'cause I know I was wrong. Oh, I'm running out of time, I have to stay strong.
When I saw you, I would lose control. Made me feel like there was no tomorrow. Should've told you that you're beautiful, but the days pass and now it's so long ago. Did you make it? Did you break free? Did you manage to be who you wanna be? Maybe somewhere you think about me too. I wonder where are you now? Wonder where are you now? Wonder where are you now? Would you know my name? Would you know it? Did you feel the same? Wonder where are you now? Wonder where are you now? It's too late now, 'cause I'm growing old, but I need you to deal with my sorrow. Just a memory, just a broken frame, and I know that I have no one else to blame. Did you make it? Did you break free? Did you manage to be who you wanna be? Maybe somewhere you think about me too.